The regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber, which has been duly noticed in two places, including the city's website, in accordance with the requirements of RSA 91A. Prayer will be offered this evening by City Clerk Dan Healy, and Alderman Thibodeau will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance, please.
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderwoman Timmons. Alderman Moran.
Here.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Here.
Alderman Govea.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman Sullivan.
I'm here on Zoom as I'm traveling for work. I'm alone in the room and I can hear everybody.
Alderman Clemens.
Here.
Alderman Senate.
Here.
Alderman Jetty.
Here.
Alderman Tebow.
Here.
Alderman Clee.
Here.
Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Here.
Alderman Wilshire.
Here.
14 present, 1 absent.
Also joining us this evening is Mayor Jim Donchis and Corporation Counsel Steve Bolton. Mayor, did you wish to address the board this evening?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Well, I wanted to start with some good news, which is that last week, the tannery transaction will closed. So we are officially on record that that transaction is completed. And of course, for those who haven't been following this closely, the tannery, Mohawk Tannery, was an operating tannery up until about 1984, and then since that time, in the last 40 years, has been a polluted site contaminated with tannery waste. And we were never able to find the funds, find the necessary parties to get that cleaned up over all these years. But now, thanks to the efforts of many, including all of you on the Board of Aldermen, we have, I think, achieved a major result. We've been working on this for a long time. I think our first meeting with the EPA was about 1917, so that's 8 years ago. But I want to thank a lot of people for
2017?
Pardon?
2017?
2017. I made that mistake last time, too. I don't know. I've been watching stuff about World War I, so I think I have 1917 in my mind. 2017, about 8 years ago. And as you know, as a result of this transaction, we are ultimately going to see a cleanup of the site, along with 500 units of housing, approximately half of which will be rental and ultimately condominiums. And much of that will be affordable, and there will be a considerable contribution to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. But we owe thanks to a lot of people, first the Board of Aldermen, but also to the EPA, who is contributing some millions of dollars to make this possible. Our housing authority, the state of New Hampshire, and locally we had a lot of people working on this. Celia Leonard, these are City Hall people, Celia Leonard, Tim Cummings, Megan Karen, Sam Durfee, Director Sullivan, Liz Hannum. All of these people worked tirelessly over a long period of time, many, many, many meetings. And of course, we worked carefully with the developer, Bernie Plant, as well as with Blaylock Holdings, who is the entity that was formed to do this job. So the cleanup should begin in the spring, and that should take I don't know, a year or so, and then the construction of the housing will begin. The city will also realize about, well, a multi-acre parcel for just of green space that is the southern end of this tannery parcel, which will not be developed, which we can use for open space and parkland. Next, Madam President, I wanted to mention the nomination of Ms. Diane Mulholland, for the position of Treasurer Tax Collector. This is a nomination that needs to be confirmed by the board, so I assume it will be assigned to the Personnel Committee for an interview. But as you can see from Ms. Mulholland's resume, she has extensive government and tax collector experience from Lebanon, from Derry, Londonderry, Claremont, over a long career. So she's been interviewed by quite a few people here, and therefore I think will be a strong nominee and will do a good job as City Treasurer Tax Collector. Madam President, I did want to take a moment to address some of the implications, and there are many others that I could talk about, but for people in Nashua as a result of the efforts in Washington to reduce the health care subsidies for, and now the government shutdown, but to reduce health care subsidies for people on the Affordable Care Act. Over the weekend, I spoke with Alicia McNichols. Now, this is a woman who is a Ward 9 resident. I see Alderman Sullivan is on Zoom. She and her daughter have been on the Affordable Care Act and have been paying $300 a month for health insurance, and have been, happy with what they've received. But now they've received notice that that premium is likely to go to either $1,100 or $1,200 a month. As you can quickly calculate, a very, very large increase. And in order, which they cannot afford with their current income. So Ms. McNichols happens to be 62, and she did give me authority to kind of talk to you about her case. She is 62 years of age, so she is able to apply for early Social Security, and the benefit she will receive will be just sufficient to cover the increased premium. But, as you probably know, if you take Social Security at 62, you receive a smaller benefit than you would if you waited till 65 or 66 or beyond. So in order to try to afford this increased premium, Ms. McNichols and her family will have a reduced income for the remainder of her life. Now, you multiply this by thousands of people right here in Nashua and millions of people across the country. This is a huge hit for many families, and I hope something is done so that these premiums do not, these premium increases do not hit, because it's going to be a huge hardship for many, many, many people. Next, Madam President, I wanted to mention the issue which I think some people are here for today, which it has to do with the resolutions or the proposed ordinances pertaining to homeless, unhoused residents. I'd like to say, first of all, that we have many city employees who have been working very hard and effectively on this for a long, long time and have been doing a good job, a very good job. Our health department, with Ms. Bagley and the community health workers, with LaTanya, have been working every day, reaching out to people who are on the streets and to learn about their issues, what problems they might have, to get to know them as individuals, and have, over time, been quite effective in persuading some people to go to treatment and others to go into housing. But of course, that alone does not solve the problem, although for those individuals, that's a big step forward in their life. But we have seen the development of a couple of things that are negatively affecting, in a very significant way, the entire community. And in talking about these things, I think we have to recognize that we need to reach an appropriate balance between compassion for individuals who might have mental health disease, might have an addiction, might be out of work for whatever reason, but also, on the other hand, the interest of the entire community, people who want to enjoy our parks or our downtown or whatever. So the two ordinances, O-2580 is a more limited ordinance, which would just prevent camping vehicles from being parked on city property or city rights-of-way. I know the police department is going to speak to these shortly. They need this tool to be able to clear some of the streets and clear the right-of-ways that of these physical campers. And we're hoping that you would consider for that one ordinance a first and second reading tonight so that they can begin to move those obstructions to some of our streets and elsewhere along. The other ordinance is O-2579, which would prohibit camping on city property, parks or other city property. This is mainly proposed, and I think the PD has talked with some of the aldermen as well as many others and has spoken publicly about this, to address the camp which has developed at the Pine Street extension and includes part of the Pine Street extension land that the city owns, as well as into Mine Falls Park. And if you learn about the details, not only has the camp grown considerably in size, but there is criminal activity going on there on a regular basis. There is fighting. There's a fire risk because part of it's in the park in a drought season. That's according to the fire department. And there have been multiple calls down there. It has just gained too much critical mass that we need to find a way to disperse some of the people so that we just don't have a disaster waiting to happen there. And we've received, comments, complaints from the Mine Falls Park Advisory Committee, who's worried about all this going on in the park. Businesses are leaving the mill yard because of it. It's just too big a concentration of people. So I'm not suggesting that you should pass that tonight or anything. That should go to a committee for consideration. I'm sure there will be differences of opinion as to whether this is, I don't think there'll be that much of a difference about the campsite at Pine Street Extension in Greeley Park, but there will be disagreement about whether this ordinance is the correct approach. So I'm not suggesting that you consider that for any kind of second reading tonight, only the other one having to do with the vehicles. Finally, Madam President, I thought I would mention briefly this Daniel Webster letter. This is R-25-208. This would authorize me as the mayor, and just with your support, to write to state and federal officials to ask for support in obtaining the funds necessary to buy the Daniel Webster College. The Cindy Rosenwald will be sponsoring, or is sponsoring already, a bill in the legislature to appropriate these funds for this purpose. If we, the city, could acquire it, I think there are a lot of very positive things we could do there, and I think we've talked a little bit about the details already, but we could sort of get into a lot more detail later if this project becomes successful. So I would appreciate your support on that so we can get that going. Otherwise, Madam President, that's all I have.
Response to the remarks of the mayor. Alderman Lopez.
With respect to the Mohawk Tannery project, I think the mayor probably intended to mention Sandy Belknap's leadership at the community level as well. She's been very involved in organizing the neighborhood, both to explore the idea and then ultimately to support it. She's been doing this for many, many, many years, and was literally the first person who approached me when I won my election with the first issue, and consequently, that was one of the first things I met Mayor Donches to talk about. So her leadership, they write stories about it. She wanted to make her community better. She wanted to do something that made her neighborhood safer and more healthy, so I just wanted to make sure that we commend her for that.
That is correct, so thank you very much.
Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to respond to the two ordinances that are on there that the mayor had mentioned. So there was a encampment work group today that was run by LaTanya Musioli. She was just going over the status of all the different encampments. There's currently 7 throughout the city, some much smaller. Obviously, the Mine Falls one is the biggest at the Pine Street Extension. 75 plus people and people visiting every day. She talked about dogs being unleashed. There's a mini bus there with lots of animals inside, not wild animals, but pets. They talked to Officer Kenny, Deputy Officer, Deputy Chief, sorry about that. Officer Kenny was there and talked about one incident with a woman that someone had walked in to their back office. It was an owner, and it was obviously a little scary. Mentioned 170 calls over the last 3 months for the police, 12 for fire. So there's some concern down there, and I think we have to start looking at it. There was a new camper there this morning. So I think there's something we have to look at, and I think we have to move quickly on it. The people of the city in those areas want us to at least talk about some of these and see if we can come up with something that makes sense down there. And I know for, one of the encampments she was talking about, Candy Cane Lane, which is at the end of Crown Hill, the railroad is going to start to tell, and there's a small, I think it's like 10 people, but the railroad, I guess, is starting to get antsy and wants to get people out of there. So a lot of things going on with all the different encampments. But I thought it was a good meeting because she went over, what was going on, what the issues were, what they're doing, and they certainly are going to these places and trying to get them help as people want or need help. And some of these encampments, she was saying that, the 10 people, for instance, in Candy Cane Lane, don't want any services. But they want them to check on them, but they don't want any services. So I think, we have to do something, still being humane, but we still have to look at these encampments and try to find out what the best solution is. So we'll talk about it more later, but thank you.
Alderwoman Kelly.
I just feel redundant because Tom beat me to it, but I wanted to also mention Sandy Belknap. She worked on it for nearly 30 years, so it's pretty incredible to see all of that passionate work of just one of our constituents come to fruition. So just wanted to thank her for that and thank everyone who was involved.
Thank you. Recognition period.
None.
Reading minutes of previous meetings, there being no objection, I'll declare the minutes of the regular Board of Aldermen meeting of September 9th be accepted, placed on file, and the reading suspended. Communications requiring only procedural actions and written reports from liaisons.
Communication has been received from Sam Durfee, AICP Planning Manager, regarding referral from the Board of Aldermen on the petitions for street discontinuance regarding Major Drive and Spalding Street. Communication has been received from Sam Durfee, AICP Planning Manager, regarding referral from the Board of Aldermen on Resolution R-25-197, authorizing developer agreements with payment in lieu of taxes for Phase 1 of the Maynard Homes redevelopment. Communication has been received from Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services, Celia Leonard, Deputy Corporation Counsel, Matt Sullivan, Director of Community Development, regarding communication providing an update on Mohawk Tannery site. And communication has been received from Matt Sullivan, Community Development Director, regarding federal government shutdown, ongoing and future funding implications.
There being no objection, I'll accept the communications and place them on file. Period for public comment relative to items expected to be acted upon this evening. There are many people who have signed up here who I believe we should allow to speak, even if we're not taking action tonight. There may be action, there may not, so I'm going to allow it. Reverend David Philbrook. Your name and address for the record, please, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, I'm Reverend David Philbrook of the Universal Life Church. Forgive my appearance, I was just trying to repair my sight at the camp by Hearts. And actually everything that I heard when I came in the door was much more heartwarming than I was expecting, and thank you for it. But I'm new to that area, as are a great many people that are there now. And there's been statements made to us over there about needing the place cleaned up, and I agree. Like, I find the site that I first walked into was atrocious. And I and several others have been working diligently to clean up the entire area. If I could ask you for anything, it would just be some time to effect such a thing. And that's all I'd really like to ask the council for, if available. And thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have to come back. There's a name on here that I can't read.
There's someone raising their hand in the back there. It might be him.
Okay. Okay, if you'd give your name and address when you come to the podium, please.
Will do. Thank you very much. To address this audience, everyone, I'm honored. Thank you very much. Name, Kenneth Walter Frank Doucette. Where I live is also in the camps as well, in Ward 4. And it's an honor to speak to you all, to have this time. I wish to plead that we don't lose because of what it is, that where we're at. And me personally, there's a lot I'm going to lose if this judgment comes and I'm told the door's that way, don't get hit with it going out metaphorically. And my heart would be sunk so low. But I'm willing to do my part to help do and keep the place as clean as possible. I don't do what a lot of the others do. I'm just basically there. And sometimes I lock myself, and I've got here a rendition of the lock I use on my own personal tent right here on my, it's a small master lock as well, and I use that to lock my tent, one of them like it, to lock my tent up when I leave, because weird as it is, it's one thing I've grown up that locks may help keep, people honest as well, and I'm hoping I can keep more people honest that basically that they're not going to touch my stuff in my tent as well as I don't theirs as well. And I appreciate all the time you've given me as well. Is there any question any of you wish to ask of me while I'm standing here? I'm willing to answer.
This is not a question and answer period. It's just for you to tell us what you need to say.
Okay. I thank you very much for your time and patience with me. I don't want to lose my home. Please understand that that's, what you're making orders of, and all are dealing with my own home where I'm presently at. And thank you very much. Privilege and an honor it is to address this council. Thank you.
You're welcome. Paula Johnson?
Blessings to you all. Thank you.
My name is Paula Johnson, and I didn't think you were going to bring this up at the beginning. I know Ken Doucette for many, many years. When I first ran for Board of Education, he stood at the polls for me in Ward 4 with a sign in his corrugated box. and I asked, how do you stay warm, and he told me. And then when I ran for Alderman at Large, Ken was there for me. These are not the people we are talking about. We're talking more about the drug addicts and the people with mental illness. That's the ones we have to address first. People like Ken, he's grateful because that's his way of life. Like our way of life is having a roof over our heads and being warm. He's got a tent. And when I saw him last Thursday, at this meeting, that nobody could speak to, because I'm sure if you spoke to him last week, he would have said the same thing. I was so happy to see him because I didn't know what happened to him after all these years. I got a big bear hug from this guy. And my heart goes out to all these people that don't have a home, but this is their way of life. The goal is, and I had talked to the mayor in 2022, before any of this came, talking about doing small, tiny homes for some of these people, that they would be out of the element in the wintertime. Warmth. They have the bathrooms, but they could still have their encampment. So if we gave them some place away from the drug addicts and away from the people with mental illness, that's what we have to really address. Then things would probably go back to normal the way it was, and they would live their lives, and they would be happy. But everything got out of control. Because during COVID, everything got out of control. And so that's what we have to look at. That's what I was not going to talk about. I wasn't even going to talk about it at the end, but Ken touched my heart. He's such a great soul. And you look at him, and he's somebody you could probably learn a lot from. What is it like to live on the streets? And that's your life, which our life is different. What I was going to talk about, Daniel Webster College, and the money it's going to take. You know, you're talking about federal funds. Federal government is closed, not because of certain people, as Alderman Clemens always blames one person. This is the other side of the coin now, which I don't want to blame. But, you know, you're talking federal funds, you're talking state. So let's be truthful and have some transparency here, because chances are, if you have federal and state funds, you're going to have matching funds, most likely from the city. So roll up your sleeves and figure out how much this is going to cost if you get federal grants. How much is the city going to have to kick into this? Is this what we have as a priority right now? Or do we have other things on the list that's a priority? This, since 2017 or somewhere between 2017 and 2019, this was purchased by the Chinese, and it's standing there. So I would find something else that's more important at this point in time.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Christina Klapaduke. I'm sorry, I probably butchered that name. I apologize.
That's okay. My name is Christina Chilbaca. I am homeless. This is hard, so I probably won't look up, but I live at the encampment at Pine Street Extension. 35 years on this earth, this is one of my hardest moments. I can't tell you 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, this is where I would see myself, or that Pine Street Extension would be what I consider home. I am homeless. I am not really homeless, I'm just landless. I am currently at the Pine Street Extension. I do have a hard shell. I'm not in a tent. I honestly feel like this situation, I see politics, I see the homeless, and I feel like I am not part of either, but generally just a sphere in the center being tossed back and forth. I hear a lot of things that Mayor Don Chess brought up. Some of them are valid, and in my honest opinion, I feel some of them are kind of inflated and far away from the truth. But again, I can understand that there are real issues here. They are serious. They are real people. They cost money, they cost energy, and they're costing people's resources as well. I love this city. I've been a part of the city for a majority of my 35 years. I volunteer my time here in the city. I do not drink alcohol more than occasionally throughout the year, and I do not participate in drug use. I am a common face of the encampment right now, and only since mid-August, I became homeless on 7/31. It was from an eviction, based also off of a domestic violence protection order that got denied because I didn't want to subject my children to that. I am just one story. There is a lot of stories at that encampment, just like there's a lot of stories in this room behind me and in front of me And again, I just feel like the sphere in between. There's a lot of things that are horrible about the encampment. There's a lot of things that are really hopeful about the encampment. I like to think that I'm part of the hopeful part of the encampment. People call me Ma. People see me and they know that if they need a ride, they need internet, they need to make a phone call, they need to get to the post office or to the supermarket, I will be there. I will give my last dollar to purchase a beverage for somebody that needs one more than myself. And there are a lot of good people with good intentions that don't deserve to be in a situation
30
that
seconds.
seems to be portrayed below others. I can't even touch upon all the things that I feel so passionately about that I need to express, other than these are real people and they will take real solutions. It's gonna take time. And there's gonna be that sphere, that orb going back and forth before there's a resolution. There's a lot of broken systems that need to be repaired, and there's a lot of people in between. Again, the people behind me that are hurting, and some of them that need the protection the most, and
Time
also
is
the
up.
people in front of me that put forth the effort and the resources to try to resolve the things for the people behind me. There's a lot of things I wanted to speak about. I honestly have ADHD and my memory is horrible. I'm glad I'm speaking right now because I didn't think I was going to be able to verbalize any of my thoughts.
But your time is up. Can
My
you
time
wrap it
is
up?
probably up.
Yeah.
I will be working with Shoshana Kelly, and I hope that there is more resolution moving forward. I don't condone the crime or breaking of the laws, but for the people's sake, I encourage even the people that aren't doing well in that encampment, following the laws or being good people, that they don't have to choose that every day. Tomorrow's a new day, and they can make another choice, and this is just for now. It's not forever.
We
Thank you
need
for
to
your
let some,
time.
we need to let someone else speak now,
I
okay?
understand, and I
Okay.
thank you so much for your time, and I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
for running the clock 48 seconds. Thank you.
Jody Montgomery? No Jody here? Okay. Sally Newhall?
I'm Reverend Sally Newhall. I live at 33 Digital Drive, Unit 308 here in Nashua. I can't speak for my clergy colleagues, but we were, the emails were flying today because we hadn't realized that the issue about arresting people for camping on city property was going to be coming up. And most of them have meetings tonight. I'm retired, so I'm free, so you get me. At the last meeting last week, I heard you all talking about what the homelessness issues were, and you were really paying attention to what was going on. And I heard some ideas even being broached about what would happen if we took the winter shelter and expanded the hours so they were open during the daytime too. So people had a place to go where they could get a warm cup of coffee or hot chocolate or play cards with people or just have somebody listen to them and help them navigate through their problems. And I was excited about what I was hearing, but instead I'm hearing tonight that this, I call it a motion because in the church we call it a motion when it comes up, I don't know what it's called, but this 079, the idea that you would arrest people for camping on city property. Before I've heard in this chamber you talk about unintended consequences of having an action. So let's just think about what would happen if you pass a law like this. You arrest somebody who's homeless because they're camping on city property and you charge them a $100 fine. They don't have the money, or they might the first time but not the second time. They pick up and they move to another piece of city property because most of these folks, Bobby Bagley was telling me last week that they did a survey this year and found out that of those people who are homeless in Nashua, the majority are Nashuans, people born and raised in this city. So they're not going to go to another city. This is home. This is where they've got family or connections or memories. This is where they've got hope. So they're going to move somewhere else. And then you pick them up again, you charge them another $100. And then you charge them another $100. I'm not a lawyer, but I think after a time, that becomes something where then I assume that the judge is going to say, well, you're not paying all these fines. Do we have to put you in jail for that? Well, that's not a solution to our problem. All you're doing is dispersing the problem throughout Nashua without addressing the issues. And I've been praying for your souls, so I just can't believe you would even consider an action like this. I understand it's an action of desperation, I don't think it's wise. I don't think it's hopeful for the future of Nashua. I think you've discussed a lot of other ideas that are much more hopeful for the city of Nashua and the homelessness situation than this
10
particular
seconds.
action. And I hope that you will not even develop it into a further motion to consider. Thank you for your time.
Sandy Gurekis?
Sandy Gurekis, 54 Harbor Ave. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of changing a two-way stop sign into a four-way stop at the intersection of Harbor Ave and Bauer Street. Currently, the stop signs are only on Bauer Street. This intersection consists of two apartment buildings, one of which has a commercial unit on the bottom floor. The unit has been a variety store, a barber shop, and currently has a for rent sign on the door. Across from the apartment buildings is Southern New Hampshire Medical Center and a large parking lot for use by the hospital. This parking lot enters and exits only onto Bowers Street, and recently a two-way stop sign was changed to four-way stop at Dearborn and Bowers, and I can only assume this was due to the amount of traffic in the area of Southern New Hampshire Medical Center. Recently, the city has posted speed limit signs of 30 miles an hour in front of my house to try to reduce the speed on Harbor Avenue. Unfortunately, this has not been very effective. We have heard and seen several accidents at the intersection of Harbor Ave and Bauer Street. I'm hoping with a four-way stop, this will allow the speeding down, to slow down the speeding on Harbor Avenue and make turning onto Harbor Avenue safer. When approaching Harbor Ave from Bauer Street, you must carefully inch your way onto Harbor Ave when turning left, because you cannot see oncoming traffic due to the Prospect Street and East Hollis, due to the apartment building, so you don't see the traffic from Prospect Street or East Hollis Street. The intersection has also parking issues, and many cars parked too close to the intersection, not adhering to the 25 feet from the corner rule. This intersection also has a 15-minute parking on Harbor Ave that seems to be ignored. So I would like to thank Alderman Sennett for his work in bringing this to the full board tonight, and I'm asking the full board to pass this for your approval. Thank you.
Hannah Nedzbala? Is Hannah here this evening? No? No.
She actually went upstairs. She was in the wrong place.
Oh, okay. Bob Keating?
It's hard to hear you sometimes, sorry.
My name is Bob Keating, and 5 Copeland Woods Drive. And I'm sure that everyone tonight is hearing the number of voices of people who are at one of our encampments at Pine Street have been affected as in a good way about the real voices of people who would be affected by 079 and to some extent some of them by 080. What I would ask is that the mayor suggested in his remarks that 079 would not go to the second reading tonight. And I would ask for the same thing on 079, and there'd be a due process to give an opportunity for not just the people here, but 75 people that are estimated at there currently at our encampment there, and 20 or so downtown, and certainly many others throughout this this community. And we've had an opportunity here for 2 special meetings of the aldermen around issues of homelessness. The second one did not provide an opportunity at all for people who are most directly, affected by this. So, as I said, the first, I hope that you allow time. This is not an emergency at this point. We've had actually lots of opportunity, as has been mentioned at the previous meeting, to act on something that the health department, our own health department, the public health department has brought forth to have a 24/7 place and to have that opened all year long. So I think it's only fair there. And just a little on a concrete, we have found a way to come up with $30,000 for the next each month for the next 2 months to pay for police overtime, and if you took that same amount and at the cheapest rents, now this is, you don't have the openings for places, that's one of the biggest, but if you took the same amount, that would amount to 40 people that could be in housing for 1 month with that same amount of money. So that's what we're talking about. And when we talk about safety, there was where, and probably could just
30 seconds.
that's it in itself, is that I think the most risk people that we're speaking about tonight is the homeless. That even people in shelter, their average lifelong is significant years less. And for those who are out in the woods, if you will, it's even less. So they asked to not vote on these tonight, send them to committee, and give more time for a due process here on these issues. So thank you very much.
Jim Tolnar?
Before I start, Christine, that was an excellent presentation.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And I've known Bob Keating for years, and I love him, but I have to disagree with him a little bit this evening. So you have 3 pieces of legislation in front of you tonight. Two of them are very easy. One is no parking on Selena Ave. That's down by the post office. We're having trouble down there. It's no parking on that street. That should be a pretty easy piece of legislation for you to give a first or a second reading. 080 is on the campers and recreation vehicles. Basically, what we've done with that, or the city's done with that legislation, is to incorporate previous legislation that's already on the books. It deals with cars in the city. So basically what this legislation does, incorporates the same methodology of how the police in the city can deal with vehicles that are on the street overnight. And all this does is incorporate campers and recreational vehicles. So that one should be pretty easy. Hopefully you pass that tonight. The reason why we ask for a first and second reading on some of these is we need to give the officers the proper authority to do things that will somewhat change this situation. And that's what these two do. The last one is 079, camping on city property. I agree that there's going to be some disruption, but the purpose of this legislation is not to arrest people. That's the last thing that we want to do. And if you ask any single person that's homeless, that have been presented with the police department, the officers will come up to them and say, listen, you really can't be here. If I come back in 2 or 3 days, can you make sure you're not here? There is not a single person in the city, let alone the police department, is going to arrest somebody and force them or treat them rudely without compassion. That's not what this is all about. What this legislation is all about is everybody in the city knows that we have an issue that we're trying to change and make it better for everybody. So I ask that you give that your utmost consideration. These 3 pieces of legislation came up from a meeting that the Department of Health, the Police Department, and Legal had a couple weeks ago. So those are 3 major departments in the city that are trying to resolve or fix this problem. So I ask you to give that your due consideration. I understand that last piece of legislation is a heavy burden on you, but it's not an issue that's been new. And at different times, it puts our officer and the fire department and city staff at risk. So thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Kevin Rourke?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight about an issue that has become increasingly concerning, the growing number of homeless encampments in our city and a large encampment at Pine Street Extension. The dangers they pose to those living in them and to the broader community. Over the past several months, our officers have responded to an increasing number of calls for service related to these encampments. To be exact, we have responded to 177 calls for service since July until last week. What began as a few tents in a wooded or vacant areas have grown into larger, more permanent settlements. These areas are unsanitary, unsafe, and present serious public health and safety risks for the people living in them and the community. We have documented incidents involving open fires, drug use, assaults, stolen property, and medical emergencies in these areas. In several areas, we have located hazardous waste, including needles and human waste, which threaten nearby neighborhoods, businesses, and waterways. Let me be clear. The people living in these encampments are not criminals simply for being homeless. They are human beings, many struggling with mental health, illness, addiction, and economic hardship. But the conditions within these encampments are unsafe, unsustainable, and in some cases, outright dangerous. From a policing standpoint, our department faces real challenges. Officers are being placed in volatile situations, often dealing with individuals in crisis without the necessary support services available on scene. We are doing our best to respond with empathy, but law enforcement cannot be the only solution. We've had officers injured in the line of duty. They have been out of work for several weeks, recovering from injuries and dealing with the encampments and homeless people. This problem at hand has put a heavy burden on our responding officers where they are pulled into these encampments and not handling other police complaints that we receive. For example, other directed patrols, motor vehicle complaints from community members, and hotspots in our city that need attention. They are not getting the attention that they should be getting. The Pine Street encampment is like a ticking bomb. The tensions are boiling amongst the people living in there. If we continue to allow these encampments to grow unchecked, we will see more overdoses, fires, and violence. We will also continue to
30
place a heavy burden on our police officers, firefighters, and emergency services. The fire department is hesitant to respond to medical calls if the PD is not yet on scene. They have to change their response on medicals for security reasons until we arrive. I think it's fair to say we all share the same goal, a safer, healthier, and more compassionate community. The police department stands ready to do our part, but we can only succeed if the city acts in partnership and with purpose.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Communications requiring final approval.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donchis regarding $1 million award, self-contained breathing apparatus equipment.
Alderman Clay.
Thank you, Madam President. I motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of 130 self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA units, including all associated software and equipment through Fire Tech and Safety of New England Incorporated and Systems Definition Incorporated, in the amount not to exceed $1,390,000. Funding will be through Department 152 Fire Rescue Fund SURF/71-equipment by roll call, please.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Thibaut.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
14 yeas, 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
Madam President, I apologize. I hate to draw us back for a moment. I believe some folks in the audience may have signed up on the other clipboard to speak at the beginning. Is it possible we could review that real quick?
And we get
They may have signed up on the clipboard for the comment period at the end of the meeting to speak on items to be acted upon this evening.
There's only one person on the second sign-up sheet, and that's not about the
Oh,
ordinances.
okay.
There are 4 people on the sign-up sheet. 3 of them have already spoken.
Oh, okay.
And the 4th one, it's not about
Okay.
that
I
matter.
apologize.
That's okay.
Thanks for checking.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donchis regarding tax increment finance development program Riverfront Water Street lighting design and construction support.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to accept, place on file, and approve a contract with McFarland Johnson for the Water Street lighting design with a focus on pedestrian routes along Water Street between Main Street and Factory Street, including pedestrian scale lighting fixtures along Water Street and area lighting under the Water Street Bridge in the amount not to exceed $9,850. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development Fund, Riverfront TIF Fund 53 Professional and Technical Services. By roll call, please.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donchis regarding multi-year contract award copiers for the Nashua Police Department.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to accept, place on file, and approve a 5-year contract with Toshiba Business Solutions to lease 10 Toshiba eStudio 4525AC and 2 Toshiba eStudio 5528A copiers in the amount not to exceed $94,698. Funding will be through Department 150 Police Department Fund, General Fund 54 Property Services. By roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries. Petitions.
Petition for street discontinuance, Major Drive.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to grant a petition for street discontinuance, Major Drive, by roll call. Can I speak briefly?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, this coincides with the development of the Maynard homes and everything that's going on in the Crown Hill. So it's an enhancement, and we no longer need the streets. And it also applies to the next petition that is in order. Thank you, Madam President.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries. And the petition for street discontinuance, Major Drive, is hereby granted.
Petition for street discontinuance, Spalding Street.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make the motion to grant the petition for street discontinuance, Spalding Street, by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Discussion on that motion. Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam President. The only thing I want to say about that is Spalding Street being named after important name in the city, Spalding. I hope that someday we can rename that somewhere else in the city, because it is an important name. And maybe there's another street. Hopefully there is.
Alderman Senate.
Just to respond to Alderman Tebow's comment, I believe this is only for a portion of Spalding Street as it enters the Maynard Homes development.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you've heard the motion. Further discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor, oh, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Good try.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons. Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and the petition for street discontinuance, Spalding Street, is hereby granted. Nominations, appointments, and elections.
Appointments by the mayor, Greeley Park Advisory Committee, Kathleen Lodi, new appointment, term to expire November 13th, 2028, 12 Bartlett Avenue, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064. Richard Smart, new appointment, term to expire October 14th, 2028, 159 Searles Road, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03062. Historic District Commission, Michelle Ernest, new appointment, alternate, term to expire November 11th, 2028, 40 Concord Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03060. Paige Holtman, new appointment, term to expire October 14th, 2028, 5 Bruce Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064.
Point of order. We actually interviewed Ms. Holtman at our last meeting. She's here for confirmation this evening. I think that may be a typo.
Oh, okay, so noted.
Nashua Housing and Redevelopment Authority, Thomas Monahan, reappointment, term to expire October 14th, 2030, 28 Swart Terrace, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064. Planning Board, Benjamin Zoller, new appointment, term to expire November 11th, 2028, 2 Pasadena Avenue, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064. Treasurer, Tax Collector, Diane Mulholland, new appointment, indefinite term, 4 Chesterfield Lane, Londonderry, New Hampshire, 03053. Zoning Board of Adjustment, Steve Lionel, reappointment, term to expire September 30th, 2028, 19 Cabot Drive, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064. Jay Minkarad, reappointment, term to expire September 11th, 2028, 13 Mount Pleasant Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064.
There being no objection, I'll accept the appointments by the mayor as read and refer them to the Personnel and Administrative Affairs Committee. Reports of committees. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the August 26, 2025 Planning and Economic Development Committee be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the August 27, 2025 Committee on Infrastructure be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the September 2nd, 2025 Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the September 3rd, 2025 joint meeting of the Committee on Infrastructure and Police Commissioners be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the September 3rd, 2025 Finance Committee be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I will declare the report of the September 10th, 2025 Pennachuck Water Special Committee be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the September 15th, 2025 Human Affairs Committee be accepted and placed on file. Confirmation of mayor's appointments.
Historic District Commission,
There being no objection, I will confirm the following reappointment and new appointment to the Historic District Commission. Christopher Barrett, 44 Abbott Street, Nashua, with a term to expire September 9th, 2027, and Paige Holtman, 5 Bruce Street, Nashua, with a term to expire October 14th, 2028. Do we have Christopher Barrett or Paige Holtman in the audience with us this evening? Please come forward to take the oath of office. Come right up to the attorney's desk.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Nashua Historic District Commission according to the best of your abilities and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Housing Revolving Fund Committee.
There being no objection, I'll confirm the following new appointment to the Housing Revolving Fund Committee. Skylar Wheeler, 7 Vaggie Drive, Nashua, with a term to expire September 9th, 2028.
I'm missing a hearing aid, so if you could speak a little louder, that would be great.
I'll do my best. You raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Nashua Housing Revolving Fund Committee according to the best of your abilities and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God?
I swear.
Thank you.
Nashua Airport Authority.
There being no objection, I'll confirm the following new appointment to the Nashua Airport Authority. Larry Garrett, 59 Ledgewood Hills Drive, Nashua, with a term to expire August 31st, 2028. Is Larry here this evening?
You raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Nashua Airport Authority according to the best of your abilities and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Greeley Park Advisory Committee.
There being no objection, I'll confirm the following new appointment to the Greeley Park Advisory Committee. Kerry Miller, 35 Concord Street, Apartment 2, Nashua, with a term to expire August 12, 2028. Is Kerry here this evening?
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Greeley Park Advisory Committee, according to the best of your abilities and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God? Thank you.
Unfinished business resolutions.
Second reading of R-25-197, authorizing developer agreements with payment in lieu of taxes for Phase 1 of the Maynard Homes redevelopment.
Alderman Dowd.
I'd like to make a motion for final passage of R-25-197 by roll call.
Motion is for final passage. Discussion on that motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and Resolution 25-197 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of R-25-203, authorizing the sale of tax deeded property located at 227 Pine Street to former owner.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move for final passage of R-25-203 by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and Resolution 25-203 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of R-25-205 relative to the supplemental appropriation of $25,000 of unanticipated revenue into Fund 4615 Housing Revolving Fund.
Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of R-25-205 by roll call pursuant to Charter Section 49.
You've all heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and Resolution R-25-205 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of R-25-206 relative to the transfer of $75,000 from Department 194 Contingency Account 70100 General Contingency to Department 129 City Buildings Accounting Classification 54 Property Services relative to the Keefe Auditorium.
Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of R-25-206 by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
No.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
13 yeas, 1 nay.
That motion carries, and Resolution 25-206 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of R-25-208 relative to the Daniel Webster College property.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move for final passage of R-25-208 by roll call. I'd like to speak to it.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you. I appreciate the mayor for bringing this forward. I know there were comments about, least of our worries right now, but I do think this is only allowing him to write a letter to see if there might be an opportunity for us to get this back in a city capacity and get it really working hard for Nashua. So I support this.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. I too agree wholeheartedly with this, whether there's matching dollars or not. The speaker commented about that the city should be doing things, building things such as tiny homes, and what better property would this be to be able to build something like tiny homes. When I was up in the State House, we tried putting through legislation that would create legislation that allowed for tiny homes and to be able to do things like this, and time after time it was killed. I have no idea why it was. We tried creating plots of lands that would allow for this and so on, but it just got killed. I'm not going to get into political reasons as to why it happened, but it did happen. I think this would be a perfect plot of land to be able to do this. It would bring fields back to the city. It would be able to do that. I think it would be a good steward of the city and taxpayers' money to be able to do something like that. Whether those buildings are good or not good, that would be determined. But, we heard from, in committee, we heard from that there's a certain portion of that property that is being used by an organization. Perhaps it could be sold off to them. Perhaps it could be leased to them. Whatever it would be, I think that it would be a good thing. It's land that's going to waste in the city. There's not a large plot of land in the city that could be developed. So I do think it is something that would be good. We keep talking about needing low-income housing, what better place than this to be able to put something like that? So I am definitely for this. I think it has so much potential, and I applaud the mayor for coming up with this and trying to look to our leaders in the state and federal government to try to help us with this. You know, let them put their money where their mouth is. We have a land that's just sitting there, so thank you.
Alderman Tebow, did you have your hand up?
Yep, thank
Okay.
you. I don't see any harm in writing a letter. I mean, there's all kinds of other things we need to do first, and that's fine. We can still do those. I'm not writing the letter. He is. Let him write the letter. He could take 5 minutes out of his day and write the letter, right? You know, there's no harm. But if they came back to us and said, hey, we're willing to give you 10 million, but you got to match the other 10 million, well, that's still on us. That will come back to us, and then we can make that decision. Is it worth taking that 10 million and giving it to to match it? So, you know, we will have that day when, if it does come to us, we'll be able to make that decision. But writing a letter, that's easy for me to approve.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Thank you, Madam President. There was a piece of legislation that came up in committee the other day, R-25-207, and it was tabled for blocking the sale of property to governments deemed hostile by the U.S. government. And then when it was discussed the other night, it was not well received, and I believe the conversation kind of got shifted a little bit. It started going more towards the welcoming city conversation and the feelings of that it was going to be not being very nice to our Chinese immigrants or Americans of Chinese descent or whatnot. And then also a comparison was made about the Coca-Cola and Pepsi owning bottling plants in China. The Nongfu Springs purchase in Nashua, comparing those two. The big difference in those is in the United States, we believe in property rights. So Nongfu Springs, that property, belongs to Nongfu Springs. In essence, will belong to the Chinese government. Versus the Coca-Cola company, the Pepsi companies, they don't get to own the land in China. So that's the big difference there. So they do not get to own the land in other countries, in China, sorry. So although I do believe maybe that piece of legislation does need a little bit of work, I have a feeling, my opinion only, that because of those conversations and those concerns, I don't know, even if it was rewritten, if that would be well received by the committee, and if it would pass. And the reason I bring that all up is with 25-208, the whole conversation of this is based on the concerns of a Chinese government. So if we're not concerned enough to have legislation that bars it entirely, right, and then now we're going to pass this to potentially procure this land. So because it's in the best interest of the city of Nashua, now it's okay. I would be more in favor if that policy and that ordinance for blocking the sale was done prior to know that Nashua is committed to that ruling. So I would like to see that happen first. So that'd be my only comments on it, is that the 207 or would be amended and passed prior.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to respond to the last comment, only to say that I look at them as completely two different things. While it's concerning to me that there is a Chinese person or national, I guess, foreign national that owns Standing Webster College as well as Nongfu Spring, I think the issue to me here, specifically to this resolution, is that we're asking the state for money to purchase this land. So it's not like, whereas the other ordinance or the other resolution was really problematic in the way that it was worded, in my opinion. I mean, could we word it differently? Maybe. But I see the two things as completely different. And my even at that, I'm hesitant to support 208 because ultimately, the money, I guess it's okay for us to ask the state for the money, but we cannot do this in a way that the city owns this by eminent domain. Because if we were to do that, that would, the amount of work that needs to go into that property is going to be cost prohibitive. So I'm going to support this, but I don't see this as conflicting with the other resolution at all.
Alderman Moran?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to support this, and I'll hopefully be back in committee, Personnel Administrative Affairs, to discuss that other ordinance you brought up. I just couldn't make it that night, and I was the prime sponsor to address the committee's concerns. Through you to the mayor, has Kevin Avard, Senator of Nashua, reached out to you to offer his support to help funding in any of these initiatives to prevent the Chinese government from controlling property here in Nashua?
Well, thank you for the question. The answer is no.
Thank you. I would just have assumed that is what he would have done. The other thing, I think welcoming city is just on paper at this point. I don't think it actually means anything any further in the city of Nashua. We're having conversations about kicking people out of encampments and downtown business owners wanting to submit people who are defecating on video to the full board. We're not a welcoming city. You might as well, I'll amend that before my term is up. I'll try at least. But we're not a welcoming city. Let's get our heads out of the sand.
Alderman Lopez?
To some of the previous comments made, it seems like the consequent is true, the opposite. If you felt strongly about property that is actually owned by foreign nationals and therefore owned by the Chinese government, I mean, you would support this because it's an actual way to prevent that, assuming it's not just sort of like a political stance. Whereas the other tabled legislation offers an unclear and potentially problematic restriction and I think stigmatization of people. It didn't specify what countries, it just said hostile countries. And, you know, we've been friends or frenemies with many countries. Some of the examples given were Canada, Greenland. So I feel like a lot of work needs to be done on that before we try to do any kind of restrictions. I also think that we should probably tread carefully when inviting the federal government to review and assess property exchanges and that type of things, and empowering them to do that, which the legislation called for. This is very straightforward. Everything is on public record. We know the property, and we know the benefit of it. And I do not want to dogpile on the other public speaker who has had her comments addressed, but it did strike me when the comments were made that we don't need this property. The exact issue that we're facing tonight, towards the end of the meeting, we could use this property for. When I was working a couple years ago for a nonprofit during the COVID outbreak, we were looking at the possibility of creating an overflow shelter, because having 35 people in a small building and having 8 of them in a room on bunk beds isn't good for disease transmission. And we thought at that time we should probably intervene and spread people out and give them a little more breathing room to make sure that there wasn't transmission of COVID. The same thing applies to the flu. So if we're able to add shelter capacity, it solves a lot of problems that we have been facing with unsheltered people, and it provides more dignified, appropriate dwellings, and a centralized location where public health, case managers, other nonprofits can work to actually help people navigate these situations and find housing. And I know that because Stepping Stones was doing it. They had an issue with organizational management, which had nothing to do with the effectiveness of their model or even the effectiveness of their work. The buildings at Daniel Webster College could very much include that purpose as well. Or they could be tiny homes. There's lots of tiny homes. You could just stack them on top of each other and put them in the same building, and they share electricity and utilities. So there's a lot of potential for it, and I think some of it is helpful to the community, like athletic fields, soccer fields, baseball fields, that kind of stuff. And some of it are opportunities where we don't have a current solution that might offer one. So I would definitely say it's worth a couple minutes of the mayor's time. If he really has to, maybe ChatGPT can help him write the letter, but he seems like he's pretty good at writing letters, so.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a feeling that Megan does much of his letter writing, but she does a phenomenal job on it, not taking anything away from the mayor, but I think this particular legislation was in response to the public's comment about what about Daniel Webster, and I think the mayor reacted properly to it. And at that meeting, to say that that legislation was just targeting Chinese countries is wrong. It did definitely said hostile, and it kind of let the federal government define what hostile countries were. And the truth is, we hear DC and other people speaking about Canada becoming hostile or Mexico becoming hostile, and that gave me anxiety. It gave me anxiety that are we talking about large businesses, or are we talking about some small businesses? It didn't define that. And that's why I felt that while I wasn't on the committee, that I was hoping that people weren't going to pass it. They were going to either bring it down to rediscuss it, or to kill it, or do things such as that. And that's why I spoke very much against 208. I don't think this is dependent. 207 is dependent on 208. I think they're completely different. I think this is a piece of land that's been sitting there for decades. Nothing is happening to it. And I think it's land and buildings that are being wasted in the city of Nashua. And like I said when I spoke earlier, it's just being wasted. There's so much good could happen out of just the fields alone the city could use and we need. And I would vote against taking it by eminent domain, because once we take it by eminent domain, we would have to use it. If we were to work with doing it, whether it be matching funds or whatever came out of it, we could sell it off. We could do whatever had to be done to maybe recoup some of the residents' money and so on, but still be able to use it for the greater good. That's why I would do for it. But much like my colleague said, this is just the first step. Is anything going to come of it? Probably not, but I think it's a good step. So thank you, Madam President.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm in favor of this proposal below, and I think it kind of brings up the bigger question about what we want to do with Daniel Webster College in the long run. I've had conversations with the companies that kind of occupy it right now, and there's a lot of concern over the city saying they want to purchase it and do something totally different with it. And I think that's where a conversation we could have further down the road. But I look at a company like Rotor Technologies, who offers workforce housing inside the campus as well as a prototyping facility on the campus, with their headquarters being on Perimeter Road right behind. And I've had a few conversations with them, and they've had big concern over, are we going to lose our spot here in Nashua? They want to be here in Nashua. They want to be close to an airport, so they said, all right, well, we're either going to be here or in Londonderry, and we'd rather be in Nashua. They found it to be a good fit. So I'm fine with talking about kind of going through the motions here and seeing if the money's there, but I also want to be sure that the jobs we have here in Nashua, if we do take it over, are able to stay. I think there's probably a happy medium we could hit somewhere, but it's definitely something I wanted to put on record here.
Alderman Thibodeau.
One is a comment, and then I have a question. Thank you, Madam President. The federal government is the only power that can deem another country as a foreign or hostile. The city of Nashua can't, the state of New Hampshire can't. So that's why you would have to ask them. The second thing is Shinhua Education Consulting interested in selling the property?
Mayor?
Yes. Our inquiry suggests yes, and as Alderman Clemens said, it's not realistic at all to try to take this in by eminent domain, but I believe we have a willing seller at a price of about $20 million, and that's why I think the letter could be productive.
Thank you.
Welcome. The motion is for final passage. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
No.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
13 yeas, 1 nay.
That motion carries, and Resolution 25-208 is declared duly adopted. Unfinished business ordinances.
Second reading of O-25-062, increasing the tax credit for a service-connected total disability.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. I motion to amend O25-062 by replacing it with the goldenrod copy of recommended amendments made at the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee by roll call. And if I may speak to it for a moment?
Alderman Clee.
Thank you. I asked to speak to it, but I'm going to yield to Alderman Jettie, if that's okay, as he's the one who did the work on it, if you don't mind.
Alderman Jettie.
Oh, you catch me by surprise.
Got to keep you on your toes.
Got to keep you on your toes, yes.
So the reason for the amendment is that, the language of the original proposed ordinance is slightly different than the state statute enabling it. And so this amendment simply conforms the ordinance to the state statute.
Motion is to amend. Further discussion on the amendment? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries. Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. I motion for final passage of O25-062 as amended by roll call, and I'd like to speak to it, and I really would like to speak to it this time.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. This was brought to us as the state had put through legislation that kind of took away some of the benefits for disabled veterans. What they had done was they had stopped the double dipping, so to speak. It told the veterans that who were disabled that they could get one or the other. And so in order to do that, what we did was we increased the benefit that added the $750 that they were losing from the veterans, the VA, the veterans benefit. We just added that to it. And I apologize here, my brain is on a little bit of overload right now, and I'm forgetting the dollar amount. It's, sorry, $2,750. So it took it from $2,000, added the $750, and now makes it $2,750. I will admit that this also does add for the widow's benefit as well. So I think it's fairly clear what it's doing. It does help those that did get it. Now, there were some veterans that got the disabled veterans benefit that did not qualify for the other 7228, 7228B, 7228C, and 7236A that will now be getting the extra $750, but they're very few. I think there's only 36, which is why the fiscal note on the entire thing is like about $36,000.
Motion is for final passage as amended. Is there further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Devote.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and ordinance 2562 is declared duly adopted as amended.
Second reading of O-25-065, no parking on a section of the west side of Marshall Street.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of O-2565 by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Devote.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and ordinance 2565 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of O-25-066, authorizing stop signs on Harbor Avenue at its intersection with Bowers Street.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of O-2566 by roll call, and I'd like to speak to it if I could, please.
Alderman Senate.
So this particular ordinance, we heard from a speaker in the public this evening on it. Probably one of the more organic things that I've worked on since joining the board here. The discussion has been going around on Harbor Ave for a while regarding safety in that neighborhood. It's a very heavily traveled street. It's a 30-mile-an-hour zone, but it's a heavily pedestrian traveled street as well. As noted in public comment, there's a lot of residential properties there, as well as the Southern New Hampshire Medical Center facility. This was sort of brought about by through a conversation that I had with DPW. And at the same time, some folks that live right on the corner, Mr. and Mrs. Woodbury, who unfortunately had to depart this evening, came to me independent of any other discussions with a petition from 25 residents around the Bowers and Harbor Street area asking for improved crosswalks, increased signage in the area. And so with that, I added that to the discussion with DPW. And ultimately, they came in support of it. To accentuate the need for this a little bit, I did reach out to the Nashville Police Department. Just in the past 2 years alone, we'll say my term alone, at just this intersection, they've responded to 11 accidents just at Bowers and Harbor. If you go back to 23, that goes up to 15. That's a lot for one intersection. So I feel like there's definitely a demonstrated need for this. The night I presented to the Infrastructure Committee, I was actually out sick that week, but I had gone to get some cough medicine, and I had to go around another accident at that intersection. Finally, as I like to do with proposals in this area, I had the opportunity to speak with the VP of Facilities at the Southern New Hampshire Medical Center today, just to keep them in the loop of what's going on. This certainly affects their clientele and their employees, and I was able to receive his support for this as well. So I hope the board will take all that into consideration for unanimous support on this tonight. Thank you.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on the motion? Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I absolutely hate these types of stop signs, but I was convinced by two people to change my mind, and one of them is my wife. And I said, "Oh, go talk to Tim." And I mentioned it, and she said, "Well, you know, there might be some." But really, it was the person who really swayed me, and not that I don't listen to my wife, but the person who really swayed me was the speaker tonight. who came to public comment to talk about that. And, you know, I think with everything the alderman from Ward 7 brought up, I will support this despite my hatred for stop signs like this.
Okay, anyone else? The motion before us is for final passage by roll call. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and ordinance 2566 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of O-25-067, replacing a yield sign with a stop sign on Crown Street at its northeast corner with Arlington Street.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of O-2567 by roll call.
Motion is for final passage. Discussion. Alderman Thibodeau.
Just a question, because of the unique shape of, thank you, Madam President, the unique shape of that intersection, have they come up with a plan on where actually they're going to put that sign?
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. And yes, thank you for the question, Alderman Thibodeau. So this is sort of the first step in an ongoing improvement to that intersection. You may be familiar with a development that's happening further down Crown Street of some affordable housing units that are going in there. As part of that development approval, they've made a contribution to an intersection improvement fund, and they have submitted a design that will ultimately kick out that curved corner to make it a more proper intersection. What this will do is sort of be the first step in ensuring that once that work can begin, we're not met with a 90-degree corner that has a yield sign on it.
Makes sense? Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and ordinance 2567 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of O-25-068, authorizing stop signs on Underhill Street at its intersection with Newberry Street.
Mr. Busy, Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of O-2568 by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
14 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and ordinance 2568 is declared duly adopted. Business unfinished at previous meeting.
None.
New business resolutions.
First reading of R-25-210 relative to the acceptance of a horse trailer donated to the City of Nashua Police Department by Friends of the Nashua Police Department Mounted Unit.
Additional sponsors. Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Moran, Alderman Govea, Alderman Sullivan, Alderman Clemmons, Alderman Senate, Alderman Tebow, Alderman Clee. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Budget Review Committee.
First reading of R-25-211 relative to the supplemental appropriation of $148,000 $35.89 of unanticipated revenue into Fund 7024 Opioid Abatement Expendable Trust Fund.
Additional sponsors, Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Moran, Alderman Thibodeau, Alderman Lopez, Alderman Clemmons, Alderman Senate, Alderman Tebow, Alderman Clee, Alderman Dowd, and myself. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Budget Review Committee and schedule a special Board of Aldermen public hearing on Monday, October 27th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. New business ordinances.
First reading of O-25-069, authorizing a stop sign on Wilson Street at its intersection with Almont Street.
Additional sponsors? Alderman Moran, Alderman Senate, Alderman Tebow. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Committee on Infrastructure.
First reading of O-25-070, authorizing stop signs on Maysfield Road and Dryden Avenue at their intersections with Peel Road.
Additional sponsors? Alderman Senate, Alderman Thibodeau. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Committee on Infrastructure.
First reading of O-25-071, regarding open hours for the outdoor City Hall public restrooms.
Additional sponsors? Alderman Govea, Alderman Senate, Alderman Clee, Alderwoman Kelly. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Committee on Infrastructure.
First reading of O-25-072, regarding disposition of real property.
Additional sponsors? Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Committee on Infrastructure.
First reading of O-25-073, amending the land use code regarding approved subdivision exemption.
Additional sponsors? Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, the Planning Board, and schedule a public hearing conducted by the Aldermanic Planning and Economic Development Committee on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber.
First reading of O-25-074, amending the land use code regarding family daycare facilities.
Additional sponsors? Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, Planning Board, and schedule a public hearing conducted by the Aldermanic Planning and Economic Development Committee on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber.
First reading of O-25-075, amending the land use code regarding on-site parking requirements for residential uses.
Additional sponsors? Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, the Planning Board, and schedule a public hearing conducted by the Aldermanic Planning and Economic Development Committee on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber.
First reading of O-25-076, amending the land use code by amending the accessory dwelling unit ordinance and definition of dwelling unit accessory.
Additional sponsors? Alderman Moran, Alderman Senate. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, the Planning Board, and schedule a public hearing conducted by the Aldermanic Planning and Economic Development Committee on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber.
First reading of O-25-077, amending the land use code regarding unrelated households.
Additional sponsors? Seeing none, given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Planning and Economic Development Committee, the Planning Board, and schedule a public hearing conducted by the Aldermanic Planning and Economic Development Committee on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber.
First reading of O-25-078, no parking on Salina Avenue.
Additional sponsors, Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Moran, Alderman Thibodeau, Alderman Tebow, Alderman Clee, Alderman Sullivan, Alderman Dowd, and myself. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Committee on Infrastructure. This is one of those that we could do a second reading. I mean, it's pretty clear cut. It's just parking. It's no parking. Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to have a second reading on O25-078, no parking on Selena Ave. And I would like to vote by roll call, please.
Okay, motion is for a second reading. This- Would the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
I had my hand up to speak.
Non-debatable.
Okay.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
No.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
No.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
No.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
11 yeas, 3 nays.
that motion carries. Alderman O'Brien?
Yeah, kind of confused what would be the,
To have the second reading.
Oh,
and then
I'm
we have
sorry,
to write.
that's right, City Clerk.
Second reading of O-25-078, no parking on Selena Avenue.
Alderman O'Brien.
thank you, Madam President. I would like to seek for final passage of O25-078, no parking in Selena Ave by roll call.
You've heard the motion, discussion. Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you. I have a major objection to suspending the rules in this and any of the following cases. We know what this is about, and I think we owe it to ourselves, this city, and all the lives that these pieces of legislation, I'm just going to talk to them all, to take the time to make this decision in an advised way. Passing this ordinance or any of the others without input from various organizations that work on this issue every day would be nothing short of a dereliction of our duty. Our job is to do our homework, listen to our constituents, and ask questions about the implications of the legislation that we will approve. Furthermore, by passing this evening, we will hear no additional public comment on this critically important topic. While some were able to scramble to come to the meeting this evening, this crowd is by no measure the full representation of those who would have come given the proper notice. Make no mistake, the decisions we make in haste this evening will affect hundreds of lives in this community, and I personally don't care if they live in a house or a tent or a camper. Anyone who calls Nashua home is my constituent.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Madam President. In generalities, I would support no parking in areas that need to have no parking. I did support the second reading to have discussion tonight because I love this. I'm going to love the next 3, and you guys are going to love me too for it. I'm going to vote no on this one tonight because I agree with my colleague at large. And many here who I've heard many times, you know, the committee is really where we do the work, unless you're going to be hypocritical, which most of you will be tonight. So I want to see it all play out, because that's what's going to happen. And I can't wait to cut back the times how many of you have said how much we need to do the work in committee, let people, the public come, let the aldermen come, let the changes happen at the committee level. Can't wait for the final vote. Love it.
Alderman Lopez, and then Alderman Govea.
Since we're talking about it, I want to do the work of the committee. Can the police come up and tell us about Selena Avenue? Are there any houses on it? Does anybody use it for parking? What's the call to action?
We could ask if anyone would like to come up and give us that information. Deputy Kenny?
Deputy Kenny, Police Department. I would say, to the best of my ability to answer that, is primarily over the course of the last 2 years, the only people parking on that road that I'm aware of are the people that were living at the encampment on Selena Ave. I can't tell you definitively whether anyone else parks there for any given time. We have not had dealings with folks that were illegally parking there. And I can also add that it is a commercial district, it's right behind a market basket, and there are no residences on that road.
So there's no homes?
No homes on that road, correct, sir.
You all set, Alderman Lopez?
Yeah, my impression is kind of bears out the last 2 speakers. This is specifically targeting homeless, and we would be permanently putting in legislation to that effect. You might as well put bars down across all of the downtown benches, which we also did.
You're all set, Alderman Lopez?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm on the fence on this, and I think a lot of it has to do with, well, I wish I was brought into this conversation earlier. I really just was scrambling over the weekend trying to figure this out. I have friends who work on Selene Ave at some of the businesses, and when I asked them about this, they said, well, the USPS has to use a lot of the road for day parking, and was loosely talked about how there was some union contract that didn't allow them into the parking lot till a certain time, so at transition times, they use a stretch of that property. And then it was said to me that a lot of the times you'll see 18-wheelers for Market Basket parking alongside Selene Ave as well. So I truly do think this needs slightly more vetting to it. I have heard from others that it is used for other purposes other than just what I think the main target here is. I'm not for it, not against it. I would just like to hear from some of these other businesses on the Ave.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. To the last speaker's comments, I can certainly verify that just from personal experience. I use this road myself semi-regularly just in the course of my day-to-day life. And you will see a lot of overflow parking of passenger vehicles on that street. The interesting note that Alderman Govea just brought up regarding tractor trailers parking on that street, that's actually already forbidden by our ordinances. So we've addressed that issue. I agree with previous speakers that this is a very, very targeted piece of legislation. I also voted yes to engage the discussion because I think these discussions are not necessarily meant to be put off. I think we need to be forthright in having them, but I would not support this legislation. I do feel that we have means at our disposal, especially in areas like Selene Ave, when encampments are popping up, to address them as they do. Now, I'm not trying to loop this into some of the larger situations, and I know for quite a while Selene Ave got very large. However, I'm reminded of a street in my ward where we had a similar encampment popping up with a lot of mobile trailers and things of the nature. And it was identified as a safety issue because of the nature of the businesses that are around there and how into the street the encampment was growing. And that was addressed without restrictive measures. You know, unfortunately, it meant, you know, moving people along from a site that they had been at, but it was for their own safety as well as the safety of the neighborhood. We didn't turn around and say that we couldn't have parking on that street because then that would have affected the businesses around there as well. It wasn't dealt with in this chamber. And so I'm hesitant, not hesitant, I'm completely opposed to doing something like this to address this, where we've demonstrated the ability to address the matter in other areas throughout the city. Thank you.
Alderman Clegg.
Thank you, Madam President. I have 2 points to make. One is a point that I'm going to make with the next two pieces of legislation. First is that there's a state statute, 236:58, that's titled Camping Along Highways and Public Property. And it reads, no person shall pitch a tent or place or erect any other camping device or sleep on the ground within the public right-of-way or on a public property unless permission is received from the governing board of the governmental authority having jurisdiction over such public right-of-way or property. There's already a state statute that says all this. So if this was put forward because of homelessness or camping or something on that, there's already a state statute that says to do this. For us to put something through to stop that, it seems like we're kind of wasting our time when the police already have a tool that could get them to do something. There's a state statute that forces, or allows them, I should say, a tool within their toolbox. My second point, if I may continue, Madam President, is that I'm going to make a motion that this be forwarded to the appropriate committee. And that's my motion. Thank you. I don't know what the committee would be, Madam President, so I apologize for not naming the committee.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure? Okay, thank you. That's my motion.
Okay, Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you. And first to Alderman Clegg, I am the chairman of infrastructure, I'll
I
take
know.
this.
I'm on it
But
too.
I have been in communication with the police department. It's time this board's got to put on their big boy pants. This is a problem, okay? I would like to solve it. It's not that I don't have any empathy, but I think we all know to solve the issue is going to take taxpayers' dollars. Okay, all the question is asked here to try to help mitigate this issue is one area, Selena Ave, and the parking there. One commercial business, I seem to remember, had a speaker on the outside of the building constantly going to try to keep the people moving. This is disrupting our commerce. You know, the home, you know, the unhoused situation. Again, it's not that I don't have empathy, but as to my fellow alderman, my brother here, you know, to push the issue and want to come to resolve, then let's do it. You want to raise the taxes? I already heard from the taxpayers, you know, a lot. This is a very sad issue, but keep in mind the focus. Okay, we're sending a cannon shot over the horizon, and we don't know where it's going to hit. It's kind of, unfortunately, out of the realm of this chamber. It's the point I'm trying to make. This is a state issue, it's a federal issue. And it just so happens to happen here in Nashua. So, I don't know. I'm just going to stay focused on the Selena Ave. I'll welcome it back to my committee, as I always with other subjects. But my vote now would be the same as it is on the committee, which is I would support this. Thank you, Madam President.
Alderman Tebow?
Thank you, Madam President. So I believe I did my homework today. I went to the encampment work group. It was on our calendars, and anybody could have gone to it. It was a Zoom. And I listened to all the different encampments, including Selena Ave. They said the people there aren't engaged. They've gone there. They've tried to get them to engage with services. They're not engaging. They're okay with them coming and checking up on them, but they're not allowing us or Director Bagley's group to help them. And so I think it's important that, to Alderman O'Brien's point, we have to lead. Are we going to just not do anything? Because when these things start going to committee, which it sounds like all three of them are going to go to committee, are we just saying, businesses, we don't care about you. People that use Mine Falls, we don't care about you. There's other people in the city that we have to care about too. They're our constituents. It's not just the people that are unsheltered. Doesn't mean we are inhumane with trying to take care of them. Deputy Chief Kenny today said he will have discretion. They're not looking to arrest every single person that's on these properties. They're looking to make sure they're safer for everyone, including the people that are at the encampments. They are feeling unsafe too. And it was said today in this meeting that things are getting worse. And at some point, we're going to cross that Rubicon, and we're not going to be able to come back from it. We can do multiple things. But what it sounds like, because there's no other legislation that I see, is that we're just going to go long-term. And long-term doesn't help us solve these short-term issues. I'd like to hear from Commissioner Tollner about Selena Ave specifically in relation to what Alderman Klee said. Why can't they do anything about the resolution that's already on the state books? Why do they need this one? I would love to hear that, because it seems like they're not being able to act on the state. Can we have him come up?
We can ask if they would care to respond to that.
Please.
You got the short straw, huh?
I'm going to ask Deputy Kenny to explain that, but I'll give you a perfect example of Selena Avenue. When I went on a ride along a couple weeks ago, I went out with Sergeant Karen. We went there. There was a camper there. I think I told you a little bit about this last week. But when we left, I said, wow, he seemed like a nice guy. And he goes, I just want to let you know, he's a registered sex offender. I didn't know that. People walking down the street won't know that. But when I went back that night, camper was moved 1 block over, and there was a huge pile of garbage laying there right in the street, right in front of the business. Huge. So when I think about these things, they could be in front of our house tomorrow. Selena Ave has no houses. All we're asking for you is to take little bites out of the apple to try and turn this situation around a little bit. The police department will handle this with compassion. You know, people tonight said, oh, this legislation, they're going to arrest people. We don't want to arrest a single person. And the officers have compassion. And Sergeant Karen that day was extremely compassionate. Took the time, sat, had a conversation with the gentleman. So this is going to happen. But we're going to treat it with compassion and respect. But to a couple people's point, you have to start somewhere. Little chips to help us address these situations. If we're going to send this to committee, and it will be in committee probably for 1 or 2 committee meetings, and we're going to be looking at Thanksgiving, and it's going to be very difficult. So, but he can talk to you about the state. Okay, thank you.
Brian Kenny, Police Department. Alderman Clee, I know we've had a couple discussions about this, very good discussions. And when it comes to your the RSA you brought up, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't recite it verbatim, but I know it fairly well. Is it a tool in our toolbox? Yes. So if we're tasked with dealing with an encampment, a problematic situation, whatever it is, there's a line in the statute, and I'm going to bring this up relative to Pine Street. If folks want us to act on Pine Street, there's a line in the statute that says it's illegal to camp on public property, and I'm paraphrasing, without the permission of the governing body. And I've said this in our homeless meetings. I've said this to several aldermen. I've said it to the mayor. That's a little bit problematic for the police department because we're the ones tasked with issuing a citation, right? If we're going to issue a citation without the confidence that they don't have permission from the city, then I'm asking my officers to go to court and prosecute something that is probably not prosecutable. If you look at Pine Street Extension, the city is providing all sorts of things, right? And a lot of our outreach is fantastic, but we've provided dumpsters. We've provided multiple porta potties. We provide all the outreach, right? All that is great. But if I have to stand up in court and say that person doesn't have permission to be there, I would argue there's a pretty good argument that says they do have permission to be there because we're providing all those things to them. So I'm not confident in issuing that citation because I don't think there's any backing unless there were to be legislation. I'm not jumping up and down to say that you all have to do it. But if I'm looked at to make that decision and to do that enforcement, an ordinance would be my signal that I do have, that there is no permission from the governing body because that's all of you. So that's where that statute just gets a little bit problematic to us.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Follow?
Alderman Tebow, yes.
Yeah, just a follow-up comment. So I just want to be clear that I'm not looking at one way to solve these issues on the streets and mine falls and so forth. I asked specifically, and Director Bagley can confirm it, I asked about the resource center, putting it in Elm Street. And I said legislation, and she said, no, we don't have to do legislation. And I said, well, what do we need? What's the next step? What do we need to do? She said, we can do it. Well, what do I need to do? She said, reach out to Director Cummings, the mayor, which I sent an email, and I got an email from Megan Karen today. Obviously, there was a holiday in there, and it was late Friday when I sent the email. So, but she said specifically, there's things that need to be done in order to get that ready for something like that. So I was looking at other issues. I'm not looking at just sending the police out, some kind of police state. Absolutely not. I just want to make things safe for all these places, whether it's Selena Ave or some of these other encampments, for everyone, including the people that are there. And, you know, that's it.
Alderman Jettie?
Yeah, so I'm going to, chime in. It's no surprise that, that I'm in favor of sending this to the committee so that there can be a full discussion of this and we can get input from the people who own businesses on that street. I just looked at Google Maps and I see cars parked on that street, not people camping out, regular cars. So I don't know, how we're going to affect people without, I mean, this is coming as a surprise. I'm pretty much, against, doing things without, waiving second readings, and I appreciate the work that some of my fellow aldermen have done, and feel that they've come up with a solution that they feel is important. I appreciate the police trying to solve a problem, but I'd like to hear from the health department. I'd like to hear from the people who are there on the ground, dealing with this situation, and I don't want to just do it on the spot. I'd like time to hear from all of these people. The people, and you're pointing at the TV like, the health department must be up there, but what about the businesses on Salina Avenue? Are they here? They probably don't even know that we're considering this.
Can I speak to that? He's talking to me, or?
So.
Let him finish, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I was speaking rhetorically. I didn't want you to answer. So I'm in favor of sending it to the committee and having the chance to vet it completely.
I had Alderman Moran next.
Oh, thank you, Madam President. I appreciate everyone Monday quarterbacking on this, but this is actually my career. I've dedicated my life's work to this. I can tell you none of these ordinances will do anything to appease the homeless situation whatsoever. If anything, it's a great political tool to use while campaigning, while you're running for re-election, to say you're doing something. But there's actually no evidence-based anything in policy that says that this is anything but potentially the ability to enforce an ordinance that may or may not occur based on the interactions that a police officer has in the moment. So it's just feel-good legislation when you're knocking doors and handing out lit. So through you, Madam President, to Director Bagley. Director Bagley, has this legislation been proposed to the Board of Health for any implications it would have on the unhoused as an advisory role?
Madam President?
Director Bagley?
Yes, Director Bagley, Bobby Bagley, Director of the Public Health Department. No, we have not had a chance to speak about this at the Board of Health. It is on the agenda for our meeting that is scheduled for Wednesday, which is tomorrow.
Follow-ups. It appears another reason to wait a couple days even. Maybe we can have a special board meeting just to call these three pieces of legislation before vacation, and maybe a special infrastructure committee. There are other things that can be done than voting on it tonight, is my point. Thank you.
Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to speak briefly to this, that I think that we have let this issue kind of blossom and grow over the last couple of months. It goes away, it comes back, it goes away, it comes back. It does that because I think that we just, and when I say we, I mean everyone in the chamber, I think everybody that works for the city, we just let it happen. And I think what we need to do is we need to, at some point, draw a line and say, from this point forward, we need to start taking care of this and moving it forward. I'm going to support this. I'm going to support the other legislation because, yes, this is a very complex problem, but we have to meet it head on, and I think it starts tonight. Thanks.
Alderman Thibodeau?
Yeah, I was voted for the second reading, and I've heard some things, and I'd probably pull that back. And one of the reasons I would pull that back is I'm looking at 080. 080. And would not 080 take care of the exact same problem if, in fact, the 078's intent is to stop encampments and campers and RVs along Salinas Ave? So I'm curious, the way I read them, 078 would be taken care of by the passage of 080. And I could be wrong, but that is my interpretation. And I don't know if anybody could either clarify that I'm mistaken somehow, or just, I would like that clarification if anybody could do that.
Attorney Bolton.
080 provides that campers and recreational vehicles can park legally where parking is otherwise allowed. This would not allow parking on Salina Avenue. So one doesn't subsume the other.
Thank you.
Alderman Lopez.
Just to the previous point made, I think there might also be an attempt, and I don't want to infer too much, but I think the attempt might be to sort of deny convenience of access to vehicles as well, so that there's more disincentive for being there. But again, that's just the impression that I have, and that's why we should really be doing these much more thoroughly in committee. I also want to point out, and I am going to try to phrase this as respectfully or carefully as I can, that the police, I have a great deal of respect for. I have worked with the homeless for decades, and in the middle of the night when I'm doing my best and somebody starts to escalate or confront, the police are the ones I call, and they're the ones who help resolve the situation. And sometimes it's a really long couple of minutes before they get there, just because the situation is so intense. So I want to give them all the respect that they're due for handling these situations. And I hear when they say it's dangerous walking into a group of 80 people and trying to be the police. And I think that's something that they're expressing. So I hear that. But with that, I have to point out that we're using the word compassion a lot. And we're saying we have all the empathy in the world and we have this compassion. But we are also literally telling people who don't have anywhere else to be that they can't be anywhere that they are. And we heard from people in the audience today that are going to walk home tonight through the dark into that campsite because that's the only place that they have to go when the rest of us are going home. And it's not compassionate to infer, even as sort of a casual reference, that people who are homeless might also be sex offenders. Specifically, sex offenders are supposed to be registering their locations, and one of the number one reasons why sex offenders end up being re-entered into the legal system is because they didn't keep their information up to date. I don't know that it's compassionate even to just kind of say, oh, you have a nice impression of that person? He's a sex offender. Because a sex offender is a person, as I understand it, that the legal system has tried, convicted, and then sentenced, and they've served their time. If there's somebody who's actively committing a sex offense, I want the police to be intervening on that, but I don't want them to treat everybody, not just the people who are on the list, but everybody who's potentially homeless in that particular manner. And I think some of the rhetoric that we are saying today does identify risk, but it also specifically highlights people and paints them all with a very, very broad brush. And I think some of the legislation that we're contemplating here needs to be much more carefully considered because, I mean, you take all the parking out for a street in perpetuity just to address a situation which, it has been pointed out, kind of comes and goes, probably because it's seasonal. We see a huge drop in outside encampments in the winter because it's too cold and people try to figure out other solutions. That's partly why we've seen, a sudden reduction last year. Although we did have to really move as a city to get our warming station up and running. It was said that we don't do anything, we kind of just let this happen. I disagree. I see public health out there all day. I know the organizations that are actively working every day, every hour. And yes, I acknowledge an alderman who goes to a meeting. That's impressive that he went out of his way to do that. And I guess I didn't see the invite for that, and I could have done that as well. But I do think that doesn't come near the level of work and effort that's being put in across our city every day. People are trying to help other people, and they are doing a lot of really good work. And that was one of the things I was trying to communicate on Thursday last week, and that's why I do think it would be important for people to go to the continuum to understand the full scope of effort that's being put out and the challenges. Because when we start looking at legislation like this that takes one perspective, however well-intentioned and however noble, over all of the other perspectives, you can do much more harm than good. You can flood systems that don't have any extra overhead. You can flood systems that are currently crippled by government shutdowns and concerns about funding. There's a lot of work that's going on, and there's a lot of perspectives that need to be considered here. And I think the primary perspective, the first perspective, does need to be the most vulnerable, which are the people who don't have anywhere else to go. And if we want to do something about that, we need to help them find places to go.
Alderman Clee?
Thank you, Madam President. First, I want to remind everybody that I did, in fact, lend my name to this ordinance, so I'm not against this. But in hearing what my colleague from Ward 1 had to say about businesses using that parking, I had to say that we're going to have unintended consequences if we pass this, and my reaction is I don't want that, and therefore I wanted to send this to a committee where we could actually discuss it. And if my memory serves me correctly, it wasn't that long ago, just a number of months ago, where we did remove all those campers, some that were working and some that weren't working. We towed them from Salina Ave. So we do in fact move those, and we have moved them in the past, and I think we should. And to the commissioner's comments about, they moved X amount of feet and there was trash and that could end up in front of our house. And yes, it could, but nothing stops that from happening, even if we pass this ordinance, that camper could end up in front of my house and then move to my neighbor's house and leave the trash there. So I don't see how that changes that. I still think this is worthy of the discussion. Would I pass it? Maybe I would, but I would like to hear from those businesses. I would like to hear from that group of people. I'm not going to talk to the other piece of legislation, although I do have comments to them, but I will discuss that when we get there. But I still think that this should go to committee, and perhaps we should take all three of these and we should have a special infrastructure committee. I don't mean to burden the chairman of it, but I'm on that committee as well. So the burden would be on myself and other members. But I do think that this should be vetted properly. I don't think, we have heard from everybody, but have we heard from everybody? And I think everybody gets their time to speak, and I think we should hear. This was the first time I actually heard from residents that aren't drug users and that aren't that, and I was moved by them. So I want to hear from everybody. Do I want to break up these encampments? Yes, I do. I really do. I want people to, I go walk through all those. I want people to be able to walk through those safely and so on. But I want to do it in the right manner. And I'm not some bleeding heart liberal that says we have to think of everybody. I'm really not. And I have worked with the deputy who spoke, and I've spoken to him regularly. And I did speak to him about this, and I did talk to him about how myself and Alderman Clemens had once spoke about doing these camping, and he was the one who brought to my attention that this the state statute existed, which made me go looking for it. I didn't even realize that it existed until he brought it to my attention, and that's why I was aware of it. So unintended consequences, I was in the state long enough to know about unintended consequences, and I voted for things that have had unintended consequences that have affected Nashua, and I don't want to do that again. So I don't want to rush into this because it is such a severe problem. I'm not saying we should wait a month or 2 months. Maybe we should call a special infrastructure committee, but I do think it needs to be done in the committee and have people speak. And I apologize to my chairman for putting this burden on him, but I do think that should happen.
Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I went to a meeting. I go to a lot of meetings, and the ones I don't go to, I listen to. We had a meeting with downtown businesses. The speaker from before, there was kind of chastising my one meeting. He wasn't at that meeting. So sometimes we go to meetings, sometimes we don't. I get it. But we heard from businesses, and they were concerned. And do we not want to listen to them? I don't understand why they're not as important as anybody else. They own property in the city. Some of them live in the city. So I don't get that piece of it. You know, I don't want to put words in Alderman Sullivan's mouth, but what he was saying, I don't think he meant that nobody was doing anything. Of course, we know Bobby Bagley, Director Bagley, and Latanya Musioli, they're out there, and their health workers are out there. I know they are. And I know they're doing the best they can with what they got. And they could use more. We could give them more. So I think we know that. I don't think that's the issue. The main thing I have a problem with is an alderman sitting here and saying that this is a campaign issue. So a month ago, 2 months ago, whatever it was, businesses came to us. They said there was a problem. It was worse than I thought. We know we have homeless. We've had homeless for 20, 30, 40, as long as Nash's been here, people have been unsheltered. We know that. They came to us with specific problems that they wanted addressed, and that includes the Mine Falls Advisory Committee. People came, told us there was issues. It was worse than we thought. People say, oh, you didn't know there was issues? We knew there were issues. We did not know they were to this extent. And so they asked us to do something about it. And I think, you know, to think this is a campaign issue, there's only 6 of us here that are running with any opposition at all. So there's 9 other aldermen in this chamber that have no campaign issues to worry about. So what are you 9? What are you guys worried about then, right? So it's not a campaign issue. If you look at my resume, this is not on my side to be, if you talk party, my party's not gonna like my side of this right now. So it's not a campaign issue. I might lose votes because of my side on this. So to say it's a campaign issue is a bunch of baloney. It's a whataboutism. It's trying to move away from the issue. What we want to do here is nothing. We just want to drop our pens and go home and do nothing. Because I'll tell you, going to committee is another month, and then another month after that. Then we're into the deep of winter, and we have all kinds of other problems. And we can use the word compassion. I trust our police force. What tells us we shouldn't trust our police force? They have no record of doing anything, as far as I know, since I've been here, with any issues coming out of them not being compassionate to people they have to talk to out in the community. And I think it's okay to trust them. I'm a supporter of the police. I believe they will do the right thing. I believe people that are not causing trouble, they will not arrest, not move along. They will make sure that they're enforcing the rules that they can't enforce now to keep people safe, to keep people that are there safe. Never mind other people that want to use the park, that want to have downtown businesses and don't want to close their business. We can do multiple things. All we think about is the long term, which again, we need to think about. We need to have long-term solutions for this, whether it's welcoming centers or resource centers or more housing. We're working on more housing, but you can't put houses up in a day. We're not going to have any of these housing developments done in a month. So what do? We have to do something now. And if people have other options, I am willing to listen. But all we have is what we have right here, right now in front of us. Do we do any of these tonight? Do we send them to committee? Committee's going to lengthen it out. We know what people are going to tell us. People are going to come from the camps and they're going to say they don't want us to kick them out. Other people are going to come from businesses saying they're being bothered by the same people. We know what we're going to hear. So what are we going to decide then? I mean, we're going to have to, at some point, take a leadership position and make some tough choices, just like we're going to have to do in other areas of our leadership. We have to lead. That's what people, if we do nothing, we're not leading the city. Thank you.
Alderman Gavea.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm ready to take action on a lot of these ordinances tonight. The next 2, you have me for. I'm ready to roll up the sleeves and get to work. I think we have heard from the public and we're ready to take some steps to make it better. I just think with this first one, I get held up on it. I get held up on these businesses that we're trying to protect and make better for them, actually having this be a result of it hurting them. And I just went on Google Maps and did a quick look, and there's about 12 businesses that kind of border it. And I'm not entirely sure how this would affect these 12 businesses. This is the ward I represent. I would like to at least have their buy-in or at least their say on this before I make any final decision. Once again, the next 2, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start tackling this head on. But for this one specifically, I'm not at the point yet where I feel like the outcome will be better than what we're trying to do. So, thank you.
Alderman Senate?
Thank you, Madam President. Going back a couple speakers, but Alderman Thibodeau actually sparked a thought in my mind, which I thought really rolled into Alderman Klee's perspective that this needs to go back to committee because there are a lot of questions. I'm still on my pedestal of thinking that this is not necessarily going to really solve anything. What I see this as is a reaction to an encampment that has popped up on Salina Avenue. However, we've got another piece of legislation in front of us, as my colleague from Ward 6 pointed out, that would allow the parking of trailers and campers, et cetera, where parking is otherwise considered. And so we're really just setting ourselves up for a game of no parking whack-a-mole. So we're going to resolve the Salina Ave issue. Great. Tomorrow they're going to move. And then we're going to have another street in front of us where we need to restrict parking. And so we'll take care of that one. And then we'll move on to the next one. It's just going to move around the city. It's leaf blowing the issue. The issue doesn't go away because you pass an ordinance. People don't disappear. Vehicles don't disappear. We need to be more mindful of this. And that mindfulness is going to come with a discussion from the businesses on Salina Ave who would be affected, from the folks who may be living in these encampments that will also be affected, from our police department, amongst their colleagues. Because we're already here. I wanted to make the snide little comment last week when we were talking about toilets that we were just circling the drain. Ha ha. That's all we're doing right now. We're no closer to a solution here tonight because we gave it a second reading. I think the motion in front of us is valid, and that is what needs to be considered. Because, yes, it's going to take time. It's going to go to committee. It's going to have to come back. What else is going to take time? Chasing down every last street where these encampments pop up until we have no parking anywhere in the city. And that's where we're going to be setting ourselves up for. How many more ordinances are we going to discuss? Because trailers are popping up here, there, everywhere else. Thank you.
Alderman Moran?
Thank you, Madam President. First off, I would like to agree with my colleague from Ward 3. Absolutely right. I don't believe that encampments are the answer to allowing them to continue to exist as they are now. I actually had this exact same conversation about a year ago when the city made this move in Ward 7. I was in a room surrounded by every director who told me that it was such a great idea, that where else would they go, emergency management, all these other things, and I said, no, it's a bad idea. You're putting people in situations where there's families, there's other aspects of orderly living that are going to be impacted. Not a good idea, just as this is not a good idea, because there needs to be a place for people to go. There needs to be a place for people to go. You need beds, you need facilities. Valley Street's full. My company is a vendor for the Judicial Council. I can tell you that these aren't cases that are being held. They're going to be right back on the street. And come on, when are you going to be in Valley Street? What are you in for? Camping. I'm sorry. That just sounds ridiculous.
No parking.
I'm sorry, no parking, because I parked my camper on Salina Drive. It just sounds ridiculous when we have some really intense stuff going on in society. But I would support, just like my colleague from Ward 3 has stated, like they need to go, but you need to have a plan for where they're going to go. And I would much rather see this ordinance accompanied by a funding ordinance that says, if you're going to be enforced with this ordinance, here's a voucher for the Motel 6, something else. And that's where the conversation can happen in committee. Come on, guys. It has to be both. It can't be one or the other. The judicial system is burdened beyond belief. We have people freaking out because an illegal alien gets, happens to be a German citizen, gets picked up for not going to his court case, and we have a riot on our hands in the city. We're talking about enforcing traffic laws in a different sense because the person's homeless. We don't have the same reaction. It's just weird, I guess. But just like speaking to back to my colleague at large regarding let's pay for it. Yeah, let's pay for it, because otherwise it just moves people around from one place to another. And we just had downtown businesses tell us how violent and dangerous it is to have these people in the city near their businesses. We're going to move them along to other places that have children and families in the woods throughout our city that you're literally saying anywhere else but downtown, any other ward but downtown. That's what this is saying. We need to pay for a Motel 6. We need to pay for something. There needs to be something as an offer. If they decline it, that's on them. But we have to do something in conjunction. Also, Salina Drive is like a couple buildings down from where I do business. Business is great. I did have a homeless person in my building. I did not email the board president and ask for a special board meeting. I handled it. You know, I don't blame the homeless when my business is doing poorly. Print is dead, retail is dead. Accept economics. Maybe your $400 shirt isn't going to sell too well on Main Street. Maybe Portsmouth is where you need to open. Different businesses fit for different areas.
Alderman Dowd.
Yeah, you know, the homeless problem and the groups that we're dealing with is a multifaceted problem, and it has to be addressed on a much larger scale. These three pieces of legislation are police department trying to say what they can help on. Now, based on all the discussion we've just had on this, I'll agree, it should go back to committee, because we're doing the committee work right here, and we're not coming up with anything. And if we have that same discussion, all three of these, we'll be here till midnight or beyond. So if it goes back to committee, it should be handled in that committee meeting and quickly, not put off to another committee. And whatever's done in committee should be addressed. If anybody on the board has issues with any of these three pieces of legislation, they go back to committee, they better be at the committee meeting, because if we come back here again and, you know, people just bring up the same arguments I've been hearing for the last hour. Everybody's right. Everybody's right. But we have these problems, and they have to be somehow resolved. And, you know, when we are moving these people out of places, you're right, they should have some place to go. And I think we have some areas, at least short-term for the next year, that can handle that. You know, the Chestnut Street Gym, you know, you could put up petitions and house quite a few people in there. There's another small gym, same thing, and I can't believe the heat's not on that building, because we'd have much bigger problems. And we still haven't decided on who's going to be doing that development, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. So, you know, there's a lot of passion on this, so I think that probably the best thing is to send at least two of these, maybe three, back to committee. The one on, I've had discussions with the police on the one relative to the trailers and campers. I think if those two big units got out of that area, a lot of the problems would go away. We're not talking about the tents. And there's also issues with, you know, how do we get those out of there? They need the authority to make them move. So I have no problem with 80 per se, but if we're gonna have the same kind of discussion we just had, damn it, send that back to committee. And let's get it resolved, and not 2 months from now, soon. So that's my feeling.
Alderman Clemmons.
I move the question.
That's what I was going to do. Yeah.
Motion is to move the question. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow?
No.
Alderman Clee?
Yes.
Alderman Dowd?
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire?
Yes.
13 yeas, 1 nay.
That motion carries. Where are we, Mr. Clerk, with the motions?
Send to committee.
Motion to committee.
Oh,
Infrastructure committee.
Oh, the mo,
This is standing motion.
to refer to Infrastructure Committee.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Motion.
Yes.
That was my motion.
She made
Yeah.
the motion.
Yes.
To refer to committee.
I thought I made the initial motion.
No.
No,
No,
and then
there was
I
a-
made a motion to
To
refer to committee.
refer it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before I do that, I want to ask Donna if there's a night available that we can schedule now, before we leave. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Okay. Committee on Infrastructure is meeting next Wednesday, but you do have a full agenda with all
Oh,
the
no,
new
we could solve all the problems of the world. Please, send it to my committee.
Well, if there's another night that's available, we could have it back-to-back if we have to.
We have no meetings next week available, unless you want to do something earlier than 7 o'clock. I have Human
Madam
Affairs on
President.
Monday.
Sorry, can you repeat the
One
date?
moment.
October 22nd is Committee on Infrastructure. Monday night is Human Affairs, Tuesday night is Planning and Economic Development, and Thursday is Joint Special School Building Committee.
Madam President, I can hold PDC for the public hearing in November and provide my committee meeting to the chairman of infrastructure instead,
When is your meeting?
next week,
What day?
on Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 21st.
So you'd have Tuesday and Wednesday,
As options.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
You could just stay here, though.
but my question is what, combined meeting?
No,
No.
no, 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 you
No.
can have
He's
the
giving her
spot,
the
is what
slot.
I'm saying.
I'll take it.
I know you
Okay.
won't want to combine the meetings.
So we'll call for a,
Darn right, I want to get this done.
we'll call for a Committee of Infrastructure on Tuesday, the 22nd?
21st?
21st.
Madam,
We still have to.
I would just separate the agendas and so that we address one thing the first night, one thing the second night. We can address maybe these three, if we all get sent back to infrastructure on one night, and whatever else was coming up before infrastructure the second night.
Yes.
Let's not all do it on one
I
night.
agree with that.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, I concur with that.
Yes.
Let's do our regular business on the first infrastructure and
No.
then
No.
No, the
No, the other way
it's
around.
going to be the other way around, as long as I agree with the
Yes.
separation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I anticipate not getting out of here.
Yeah.
Can we order breakfast?
If you're buying.
Can I just
Does
get a
everyone at the
clarification?
campsite get breakfast?
Okay. So that's what we'll do. Alderman Kelly?
Just want to clarify, I know we haven't brought up the other two pieces, but it sounds like what we're recommending is this and the other two on Tuesday. Is that correct?
No, just this one.
Just this one?
Just this one.
Okay.
So far.
Just this one.
Just this one so far? Just making sure I understand.
Just this one, yeah.
Okay. So the motion is to refer this to the Committee on Infrastructure for Tuesday night, October 21st at 7 PM. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Oh, yeah.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes, and I'm sorry.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
14 yeas, 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
First reading of O-25-079, prohibiting camping on public property.
Alderman Tebow?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and allow for a second reading of O-25-079 by roll call.
Heard the motion. Alderman Clemmons?
Yeah, I'm not going to support that. I was going to support that, but I'm not going to support that since we're going to have a special meeting of the Infrastructure Committee where we can discuss this next week. I think that's a better call. I think the original intent was we were afraid that this was going to drag on. I don't think it's going to, I don't think waiting 1 week.
Oh, it's not.
So I'm not gonna, hopefully it'll come to the second, we'll get something done in infrastructure and it'll come to the second board meeting in October and we can get it done. But for those reasons, I'm not gonna support the suspension of the rules.
Okay, so this is really a non-debatable motion, so it's a non-debatable motion.
Can I
You're
not
gonna
make a
have to
motion
cut.
on top of that? That was my question.
It's undebatable.
You have to take the
Otherwise, I
vote
would've
before
talked.
You have to take a
anything
vote.
else.
Yeah.
What,
Why not?
Okay?
the motion is to allow for a second reading. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
No.
Alderman Moran.
No.
Alderman Thibodeau.
No.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
No.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
No.
Alderman Senate.
No.
Alderman Jettie.
No.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
No.
Alderman Dowd.
No.
Alderwoman Kelly.
No.
Alderman Wilshire.
No,
3 yeas, 11 nays.
that motion fails.
Assign it to infrastructure.
Yeah. I will assign ordinance 2579 to the Committee on Infrastructure. Oh, additional sponsors. Alderman Govea, Alderman Clemmons, Alderman Sullivan, Alderman Tebow, myself.
Surprisingly,
Alderman Moran.
thank you.
You're welcome. So that will be assigned to the Committee on Infrastructure.
First reading of O-25-080 regarding campers and recreational vehicles on public property.
Additional sponsors?
Additional sponsors? Alderman Moran, Alderman Govea, Alderman Clemmons, Alderman Tebow, Alderman Clee, Alderman Dowd, Alderman Sullivan, and myself. I'm not looking for a motion for final passage.
You're not looking for a motion?
No.
You want to assign it to infrastructure.
Madam President?
I'm going to assign this to the Committee on Infrastructure.
Madam President, I want to make a motion to suspend the rules and ask for a second reading on this.
It's in the, it was in the outline.
Oh, that was the other one, never
That
mind.
was the other one, yeah.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? Why would it matter?
You don't have to do it.
It's just a script, it's not the
That's
actual
just a,
agenda.
you can make a motion.
He made the motion.
Yeah.
I don't need to make the motion.
Okay, who made a motion? Alderman Govea made a motion to suspend
It's
the
not
rules
debatable. We can't talk about it.
to allow,
To allow for a second reading.
Take the vote.
okay, clerk call the roll, please.
Alderman O'Brien.
No.
Alderman Moran.
No.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
No.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
No.
Alderman Senate.
No.
Alderman Jettie.
No.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
No.
Alderman Dowd.
No.
Alderwoman Kelly.
No.
Alderman Wilshire.
No,
4 yeas, 10 nays.
that motion fails. I am going to assign this to the Committee on Infrastructure. No, we still have another.
Is there public comment?
Okay. Period for general public comment. Alderwoman Kelly?
I would like to request a suspension of the rules. I know Ms. Bishop came from chairing the Board of Education to speak, was unable to get her name on the list to speak this evening.
Okay.
Hi, guys. I'm Jen. You all know me. I don't like being on this side. It's my gavel. So I had reached out to a couple of you guys today in regards to the ordinances that were presented tonight. Just some key things that I would like you to keep in mind as a social worker working with this population. Some of the concerns that I have, I've been working closely with public health on getting people housed from inside the hospital. When people get moved from their camps, they lose their stuff. They lose their wallets, they lose their Direct Express cards, they lose their social security numbers. City welfare can't provide any assistance when they don't have the proper documentation, so I would suggest if you're gonna go forward with the motions that are, well, with the legislation that's presented, that we come up with a way to ensure that the necessary documents get kept in a safe place, whether that's giving people warnings before they're asked to leave so they can come up with a safe place, or there is some way that, I know I've talked to public health about this before, but if there was some way that public health could hold on to these documents. I cannot get anybody into a hotel without a driver's license. I can't get them into any kind of housing without their documentation. I can't get them into any kind of assisted living without Direct Express bank statements. The other thing that I would want you guys to take into account is if they can't stay where they are, they're gonna need a place to go, which means that we're going to need to expand shelter access this winter. But you have to remember that if somebody is on the sex offender registry, they can't go to the rescue mission, they can't go to the Hope Center, and if there are families within the soup kitchen, they can't go to the soup kitchen. So your most dangerous people are going to still be on the street. We can't put them in a shelter somewhere. And if they don't have their documentation, I can't get them into a hotel. Like, this is really just to make my job easier. And the other thing that I would want you guys to think about is, there were 3 things. What was the other one, Show? So it was documents, expanding shelter care, and then,
Loss of medication.
and what?
Loss of medication.
Well, loss of medication too, but that's, I mean, I can solve that pretty quickly. But I'll send you guys off an email just to give you an update from a social work perspective, from my boots on the ground working with these people. Is being unhoused unsafe? Yes. Is it unsafe for them? Is it unsafe for the
30
community?
seconds.
Yes. Oh, you're timing me. I'm sorry. I'm used to
No,
being
you're
in
good.
charge of everything. So, and now I completely lost my train of thought, but as a social worker working with these people and working with public health, I understand that there are challenges that you guys probably don't know about, and I would love to have further conversations with you guys about how we can mitigate some of these concerns so that we can safely move these people where they need to be, so they're safe and we're safe. But I know I spent a lot of time on the phone with you guys today, and I appreciate it, and I do not envy the position that you're in. And I just, Christmas is gonna be here soon, and everybody should have a nice little safe fireplace with a stocking and all
Could you
the-
give your name and address for the record, just?
I just assume you guys know me. Jen Bishop, 45 East Dunstable Road. You guys know me from things like the Board of Education and the Commission on Citizens Grants and all that other stuff I do for you guys. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks, Alderman Kelly.
You're welcome.
So the other people that were signed up have already spoken. I'm sorry? Okay, Alderman Paula Johnson.
Paula Johnson, 15 Westbourne Drive. Well, this was a nice, long discussion. I want to say, I do agree with Alderman Moran on a lot of what he said, and Ms. Bishop. You know, it's so easy to say we're going to just rehouse them. But when I look at Mr. Doucette back there, and the years that he's lived in encampment, and nothing ever happened with him, he's not the problem. It's, again, It's the people who are on drugs and alcohol that have mental illness that are basically the agitators out there. Because the encampments that have been around forever, nobody ever knew that they were ever around. They didn't bother anybody in the parks. They didn't bother anybody anyplace. I mean, I never knew he was ever around until he came to help me during my elections. You know, so Mines Falls, you have the encampments, they're new people. So we're taking them from Manchester, we're bringing them here, we're gonna shuttle them here, we're gonna shuttle them there, but we're not getting to the problem. And that's, tonight, I'm glad that everything got sent to infrastructure, because this is something that you really have to roll up your sleeves and figure out what are you gonna do. You can't keep shuttling them around. And the more you shuttle them around, the more you push them around, it's only gonna get worse. So the people like Mr. Doucette is gonna be the one who gets hurt, and the people who, the agitators, are gonna walk away free. He's not the one that's going and taking food off of people's tables. He's not the one you're seeing at the church in the morning running around the courthouse. He's not the ones that you see going into the retail stores and walking out with a bag full of stuff, and you see them banging out the door. I work in retail, I see it all the time. So let's be sensible about this and do it the right way, you know, rather than coming back and saying, oops, we made a mistake, and certain people get hurt. And you know what? He's the sweetest guy in the world. He would take his shirt off his back and help you out there. So he's not the drug problem. And the
right.
Thank you, Ken. You know?
I will take my shirt off.
You don't have to wait.
But anyway.
Covered every one of you by me. Y'all are ever in trouble when I see you. I want that.
He could take my time.
Okay.
That's okay. I'm sorry, but thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. Remarks by members of the board. Alderman O'Brien.
Yeah, I would really, from the bottom of my heart, like to thank the board for giving me these three ordinances to take a look at. So therefore, these are very big topics. And we can hash it out in the Committee of Infrastructure and then come back and look like a bunch of bozos and hash it out again at an automatic meeting. So here's my suggestion. You want to send it to me, I'll hear it. But come to the meeting so we could discuss it. I'll have a seat in the horseshoe for everybody. But that's the only way to get to this. And I'll tell you, I'm going to limit it to what the question is, whether it's no parking or parking. I can't get into the social issues of this. Then we're losing focus. I want the meeting to stay focused, and I'll be happy to share that. So I'd like you to come in with solutions to the focused issue and not looking at the whole general problem, which is bigger than all of us here in this chamber. So I thank you for giving me the duty. I'll put my best, given my strong Irish attitude, to pull it forward, and we'll bring it back to the Alderman. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Madam President. Actually, maybe we can address this then. I'd like to make a motion. Let me make sure I got the city charter number right here. I'd like to make a motion to request the formation of a special aldermanic committee under Charter Section 47-A. That would be a committee on unhoused policy comprised of the chairpeople of the Committee on Infrastructure, Planning and Economic Development, Budget Review, Human Affairs, and Personnel Administrative Affairs, with the committee to be chaired by the Chairman of Human Affairs. The committee will be tasked to implement new unhoused policies on behalf of the Board of Aldermen and be empowered to investigate any administrative obstruction and barriers to implementing resolutions, ordinances, and/or funding appropriated by the Board of Aldermen and take appropriate action to resolve. By roll call, and I can speak to that.
Alderman Moran.
So within the city charter, we have the ability to create special aldermanic committees, and given the circumstances of everyone saying that we need more, that we need to have infrastructure, that we need to have budget, that we need to have personnel administrative affairs, planning and zoning, human affairs, I thought it'd be wise to bring all those chairmen together to develop such policy and to determine if the city is in fact following through on our recommendations as regards to funding, because we can't tell the city what to do, but we can ensure that our funding is being appropriated as we deem fit. And that could be feedback of if we have to change language to an ordinance, if we have to modify things, or consult with legal to see if any of that's still within our power at all. But the main focus of this special committee would be to address all the issues that are being discussed today, instead of being sent in piecemeal from one committee to the next, having the most powerful committee chairs on that special committee. And if you truly do want to do something about it, other than just enforcing parking laws, this is be the great opportunity to create this committee and do just that.
Discussion. Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you. Through you to the maker of the motion. So I guess I'm a little confused as to what you're trying to accomplish. I know what you said, what you're trying to accomplish, but then I'm reading what you said in the motion, and they're not
Aligning.
jiving. They're not
Right.
aligning. So, because what the motion, I believe, reads that we're looking to investigate any administrative obstruction and barriers to implementing resolutions. But then you said you wanted this committee to implement resolutions.
Alderman Moran?
My apologies, is to develop policies and determine which ones are currently being utilized here within the city, strengths, weaknesses, SWOT analysis, impacts of what's happening now, what we need, hearing feedback from all department heads, and creating policy through the board, and then creating the legislation that may be designed to go to one specific committee based on what it might be. And I think previous boards have done something similar, but that was dissolved, I think, a couple years ago. I can't remember the name of it. Alderman Lopez, do you recall the name?
Yeah, I think that's the tune I came in on, is the Substandard Living Conditions Committee?
Yes. So there's precedent in the past for special boards being created. It just seems so large that it encompasses all those types of aspects that we do in work. We're going to continue to have piecemeal if we can't have one space that says this is where that work is being done on behalf of the Board of Aldermen.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm inclined to support the motion. If this topic is at the breaking point that we've been led to believe it is, and I'll go on record to say I feel like it's been there for a while now, then it's incumbent upon us, as we've heard tonight, to do something. The precedent has been shared. You know, many people remember the breaking point that led to the Substandard Housing Committee a couple of years ago. It was a singular, maybe dual issue that led to the formation of a committee that, you know, had the discussions that need to be had. And clearly, there's an appetite to do more work here beyond the typical routing of the committees. And this is a first step. I can see from the composition that I certainly wouldn't be on this committee, but as we're all told, we're all welcome to come to any committees that we'd like to participate in and have our voice be heard. I feel like this would be a great opportunity to engage in the conversation for those of us like myself. For example, I would love to be able to come to meetings of the continuum of care. That's not practical for me due to what I need to do to maintain my own household. And that's a sticking point for me, because I'd like to be more engaged in the conversation and the solution. So I see this as an opportunity. I'll support the motion. I'd like to see what could come of this.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you. So I could support this, but I would ask that the motion be amended a little bit. Because right now it says, the committee will be tasked to implement new unhoused policies on behalf of the Board of Aldermen. And I think it would be better if it said the committee will be tasked to recommend implementation of new unhoused policies to the rest of the Board of Aldermen. Because I don't think that any one committee should have the final say on these things.
Alderman Moran?
I'm completely okay with amending any of this, because it's the first time I brought this up, to even think about what else could be done. And again, the Corporation Council pointed me to that city's charter direction upon consult with Corporation Council for another matter. And I didn't know the best way to form it, so I formed it the best way I thought. I also would entertain an idea to refer to Personnel Administrative Services Committee Affairs to further tone the language if needed. I am not a fool here to think that I should expect this to pass, given we just
shut down
three. So I can make that amendment, or I can make the amendment to refer this to Personnel Administrative Affairs. With that, I'll just say, I'll make this amendment, I would like to amend to refer to Personnel Administrative Affairs.
Okay.
It's not an amendment, that's just a motion to.
Right,
refer.
it's just part of it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bless you.
Alderman Thibodeau?
Mine was just a clarification if this is intended to be an ad hoc or a permanent committee.
May I?
Yes.
I would say that it is a committee that stands at the pleasure of the board, majority, and/or the board president, depending.
Alderman Tebow, then Alderman Kelly.
Thank you, Madam President. There's no way I'm supporting this. We have a committee literally labeled Human Affairs. It meets once a month. Have it meet more. That's the committee that should be looking into this stuff, honestly. And when it becomes infrastructure, like a road, then it goes to infrastructure. But when it's talking about people and how to help them, that's Human Affairs. I don't think we need more committees and more convolution and more bureaucratic red tape to get this stuff done. I just think, and we're changing the board literally in 2 months, and we know we're gonna have changeover. So,
It's not do it or not do it.
Yeah, the motion is to refer it to the committee.
it's fine. I'm not gonna vote for it. I'm gonna vote no.
Yeah, 'cause it's just refer to personnel. It's
You
not
good?
About
Okay.
this anymore.
And I'm gonna vote no to refer to
Okay.
personnel. Is that okay, or?
Yeah.
Alderman Sullivan?
I'm good. I lost track of where we were in motion, so we're voting to push this to committee?
Yes.
Is that what we're doing?
Yes, personnel.
Okay.
That's fine.
I need a whiteboard. Want that whiteboard.
We need a travel one.
All right, the motion is to refer to the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
No.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
No.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
No.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
11 yeas, 3 nays.
that motion carries. Additional comments by Alderman. We're up to you, Alderman Thibodeau.
I just wanted to, and I didn't know, I guess it's more of a question, I guess kind of a comment, kind of question. We have a special meeting coming up to handle these 3 pieces of legislation. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of dirty work. and I mean that in a positive sense, it's not, I don't mean that derogatory, just a lot of hard work. Can we come to some kind of an agreement on what members of the community, business, need to be here that night? Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions asked. And if the people aren't here that we need to ask questions to, that's just going to prolong the entire process. And I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying, is there a way to, over the next day or two, we could email who we think needs to be there? I'm just throwing that out there, just to make sure we have the people required that night to make those, or answer questions we may have. That's all I had.
Okay. Anyone else over here? Alderman Lopez.
Yeah, I just want to comment. A number of us have expressed support for a daytime resource center. Mayor, I don't want to put you on the spot, but just if we could start focusing on that and start looking at it, I don't think there's ever going to be a point where we aren't going to need one. It has been somewhat pessimistically predicted that there will always be homeless people. And while as a group, that's probably true, I'm more focused on how can we get each person and each individual out of that situation, start shrinking those camps by putting people where they need to go. And I think a resource center and the opportunity to actually connect with supports is key. And as particularly the weather gets colder, having a place to go to, there's the automatic incentive of it being warm, maybe there's coffee or water or something like that, and maybe it is a place that somebody can physically go to and connect with when they're staring down the barrel of, I don't have anywhere to go tonight. That's also where, when there are those rare openings at the shelter, that's like the first place that they could be calling. So I think having a community center or a community resource program is extremely important. There's an analogy which is kind of messed up. It's used to death in social work circles. But if there's some kind of crisis going on, you keep seeing babies floating down the river, you have to go save every baby. But you also have to go up the river and figure out what is going on up there. And I think the Community Resource Center is actually tackling the roots of the problem rather than continuing to try to play whack-a-mole with the symptoms.
Was that a question?
Mayor?
It was a recommendation.
Well, yes, we are focusing on it. You did as an aside, you texted me that baby thing, and I didn't understand what you said.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from. It might have had to do with Moses. But.
But putting that, but to go back to the main question. Yes, we are focusing. Now, this is just, it's come up fairly recently. We're beginning to look at costs. The only refinement, I would say, is that the suggestion has been made that it be in Elm Street. And we are trying on that site to develop housing, including affordable housing, and as soon as we possibly can. So what I would like to look at also is we started today to inquire of a couple of possible leased spaces that aren't Elm Street that might be better located anyway. Now, we need to see if we can, what the rental rate, or even if these things could be rented. They have been for rent in the past. So that's, a refinement, but I think it'll take a little while to investigate all that.
Thank you.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I wasn't going to comment on this, but seeing as how the mayor just finished, I would just say I don't understand why we wouldn't just use Elm Street. We already own it. We're not likely going to redevelop it in the next year. It's just not going to happen. We got a lot of other things to do before any work gets done on that. And then in the meantime, we can look for another property to move it to. And that's what I would suggest, but in any case.
Now, do you want me to answer that now?
Well, I just think it's a waste of money, but sure.
But this is another long discussion. Maybe we should just.
Okay.
Do it next week.
We'll do it another night. Anyway.
You could do it in Human Affairs.
I also, Madam President, I also wanted to just say, apologize for debating in a non-debatable motion. I was mistaken there. But I do think that we did the right thing. I know that there are some folks, probably on the police department and some folks here tonight who are disappointed that we did that, but we have to, as a board, be comfortable with what we're doing. And we have to, as a board, be confident when we go out and say to the constituents and to the community, look, we did our job here, we vetted everything, we listened to what people had to say. I was ready to vote for some of this stuff tonight, but, you know, with Chairman Moran basically giving up the PEDC night, and then Alderman O'Brien, you know, taking that spot and allowing us to have this discussion next week, we can hopefully get that on the docket for the next Board of Aldermen meeting and get this squared away. And Alderman Thibodeau is correct. Let's get the right people at that meeting next week. Make sure the police are there, fire, the stakeholders, businesses, whoever, and have everybody come and give their 2 cents. Obviously, people at the microphone do change our minds. I changed my mind on that stop sign tonight based on somebody that was speaking, so it can be done. Your voice matters. But I just think we made a better decision tonight because we listened to one another. And I think even if our votes in the end don't change, I think we will hopefully have a better understanding of where each other is coming from. And then that will lead us to better decisions regardless of what we choose to do on those ordinances. So I think good work was done tonight. It's always positive to see a spirited debate in this chamber, but I think the people of Nashua were very well served this evening. So thank you.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. I got to come in and bring the room down even further. I'm not sharing any new news with anybody in this room, but nevertheless, it's the first time that we've met in full complement following a couple of difficult weeks in Ward 7. And so I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the passing of two relatively well-known Ward 7 residents. The first was Brad Brusso, who many have met and had interactions with in the past. Sometimes not the most positive. Brad could be an impassioned and vocal proponent of the things that he believed, but nevertheless, many of us did know him. I remember Alderman Jetty asking me to invite him back to the chamber several more times when he joined us at Human Affairs Committee once to, or Personnel rather, to say some nice things about us. And then this second, of course, is former member of the Board of Education, Ray Garino. Very sudden passing, pretty unexpected, and very devastating to a lot of folks. To know Ray, much like Brad was to sometimes argue with him, Lord knows he and I have done our rounds a couple times, but he fought passionately for the things that he believed in, and he will be missed. So I want to send my condolences out to both of those families and let them know that our hearts are with them. Thank you.
Alderman Jetty.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with Alderman Thibodeau and Alderman Clemens, who said the same thing about making sure that at the infrastructure committee meeting that the proper people are invited, and I saw you nod your head, but I'm not sure. I'd like to know how that's going to happen. Is there some way we can, help make that happen?
I can reach out to Director Bagley. I can reach out to the fire department, the police department, the businesses. I don't know how I can reach out to them, but
Chamber.
the chamber. Okay.
I did actually meet with these businesses at one point. I did actually meet, we probably have a list of some of these businesses on Salina.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the PD even cares about pursuing that. I just got a text, but I did meet with some of the businesses, so I think we have some contact information on that. I mean, the ones we met with were very disturbed about what was going on. But, and we're asking for immediate action. This is like some months ago. But we could possibly come up with that, the email list and get to them, let them know about it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Alderman Tebow?
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, props to Brad and Ray. I mean, I'm going to miss those guys. They were good people, and it was tough to hear about both of them. Okay, since I'm campaigning, I can go over my campaign speech, or what I went through tonight was by far not even close to campaigning. I mean, people are going to say, you agreed with Alderman Govea and Alderman Sullivan? Yeah, I'm going to get usually arguing with those guys. So there was no campaigning there. So that's a bunch of baloney. I changed my mind and I voted yes on Selena from one thing that Alderman Govea said, is that it's his ward, he's going to go talk to the businesses on that street. So at that point, that's when I said, okay, well, it's his ward. He's going to check into it. That's fine. I was actually going to say, before we move the question, I'm going to vote whatever he ends up voting because it's his ward and he's said he's going to do the work on it. So that's why I went yes on that, because I had no problem being the only no if that was the case. But that's why I changed on that. I don't think we led tonight. I really don't. People wanted us to do something and throwing it into another committee or making it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever we end up doing is not leading. Looks like the police are already giving up on Selena. So, I mean, we're not helping ourselves. Yes, we need to do other things. I'm going to be demonized tonight, I know it. There's going to be all kinds of comments out there that say how much I hate the homeless, which is absolutely not true. I believe in humane ways to do this. I believe in long-term solutions. I believe in a resource center. I believe in long-term housing. But we can't do that tomorrow. We can make them safe tomorrow, but now we can't, right? We could have protected people tomorrow, which now we cannot. Something is going to happen in Mine Falls before we are able to enact something. Someone is going to get really hurt. Something bad is going to happen, and we allowed this to go that way. So we can put our heads in the sand, as somebody said earlier, but we could have done short-term things in an attempt to do longer-term, better things, more humane. I'm willing to work with Director Bagley and her staff, whatever they need. I want to go on ride-alongs down there with both the police and Director Bagley. I'm committed to trying to help this problem, but we can't just look at one thing, and that's what some people want to do. We got to look at everything. This is global, and we got to look at maybe what other communities are doing outside of New Hampshire. Are they doing something good? Can we also do that? But we can't do nothing, and that's what we did tonight. We did nothing. So that's it.
Alderman Clee?
Thank you, Madam President. And I don't think anybody demonizes you here. You're a good person, and you try to do the work, so thank you for what you do. And I, too, would like to send my condolences out to the Garino family. I've been speaking with Tina, his wife, every night for hours at a time, and his family is devastated. So my thoughts and prayers truly do go out to them. And one of the things that Tina has mentioned is something happens in the news and Ray runs down to the basement to write a letter to the editor. And she'd be like, there he goes. So Ray always had an opinion and was very passionate about the things that he did. So he will be missed by probably every newspaper in the state, as well as so many of us who cared about him deeply. Amelia and Christopher are also very devastated, as well as his two puppies. I got to meet them for the first time, and both of them autographed me with their muddy paws. So my two greyhounds were like, who has been talking to you? So, but I want to thank Alderman O'Brien for graciously allowing us to send those three back to his committee, and I will be there to do the work beside you. You know, the people that came that were homeless, they weren't the ones that that we're doing drugs or doing any of those. You know, the moving people and so on, you know, maybe we do need vouchers, maybe we do need to do that, but maybe that will come out in the conversation. And while this legislation speaks to parking and so on, I do think we need to let that conversation go a little bit further. And while I know Alderman O'Brien wants to stay on track and so on, I think we do need to have some of those side conversations so that when maybe committees and so on, it can go a little bit further. And I want to apologize to the PD if they think that they weren't getting support by us, but I do think we are giving them support. And I do think there's a passage in this legislation that may need to be changed, because there's a passage in the legislation that pretty much so mimics what is in the state statute that basically says permission by. It says permission by the Board of Aldermen. And
In writing.
In writing, okay, thank you.
That is the big difference.
Okay, then I appreciate that clarification. So, but that would have come out in the meeting and so on. So I do appreciate that. So, you know, we need to make sure that all of this is, you know, is brought out and discussed and so on. And I know our legal is second to none. And I apologize if it seemed like I was questioning you. I'm not. I absolutely am not. And my apologies for that as well. But, you know, I do think we need to do our due diligence, just so that we make sure that we crossed our Ts and dotted our Is. And I do hope PD, fire, public health, which I know will be there at all the meetings, stakeholders and so on. And to my colleague's point, we do sometimes change our mind when we get into the horseshoe. I agreed that with Selena Drive until I heard my colleague from Ward 1 speak, and then it was like, no, I can't possibly pass this legislation. And I don't demonize anybody in this horseshoe. I think we all need to speak our mind. To the comments about the meeting that was held earlier today, I had a doctor's appointment and couldn't attend, but in all transparency, I actually did not see it on the schedule, so I wouldn't have attended even if I didn't have the doctor's appointment. But that's on me and not on anybody else. But I hope in the future that I do notice something like that and I would attend. But thank you so much.
Alderman Dowd.
Very quickly, I hope. Again, this problem is a lot bigger than the things that we were looking at tonight. These people have to have a place to go, and we have to somehow work on that as well. You know, I was ready to support 79 and 80 to support the police department. They've heard all these issues, and they're trying to find ways to help. And they felt their hands have been tied. So maybe at the infrastructure meeting, they get more definition into what they're trying to do. I think we weren't going to get anywhere this evening. So we need to have all the full discussion and let the police department talk to the two issues that they want to get enforced. I know it's going to be next week and then a couple of weeks before our meeting, but we have to work this all out in that infrastructure meeting and come back here with at least a fairly solid, unified approach. So if we don't, we're not going to get anywhere on this.
Alderman Kelly.
I will not be short. So I want to thank everyone for entertaining the discussion this evening. I think it was really important. And I'm going to try to follow my notes that are all over this page. I attended church this weekend, and the sermon was all about stories. And when you're hearing a story, that story is for the perspective of the person that's telling it, and what kind of blind spots that can give you as a person. So when we think about the stories we hear in this chamber, and for some people to say, oh, I think, I've got the full story, I get concerned, because the stories we're hearing in here are privileged. There are people who know how to get to the meetings, they know how to lobby, they know how to talk to us. The only people who showed up tonight were because someone said, hey, you should come talk. There are people who work during the day and the evening who don't always have the ability to come here and tell their stories. And I think the stories are really important when we're talking about to humanity and the people in this city. I'll pivot for a second and say that I also have privilege. I own my own small business. So since this came up about a month ago, it feels like, I've pretty much been MIA to most of my team, and I've been talking to people outside of this chamber. I went to the Continuum of Care. I talked to Grey Nuns. I talked to the people who run the mobile health clinic. I went to the encampments for 2 hours, and I talked to people there, and I asked them what was going on and what it was like to live there and what kinds of things made them feel safe or unsafe. I've been doing the work because it's really important, and I'm passionate about it, and it's not about the timing or that I'm up for re-election. It's because I've been passionate about this for a very long time. I worked in this in Boston when I was in college, and I've been on the board of the soup kitchen for 8 years. And I think that there's nobody in here with ill intent, but there's a lot of pieces to the story that we don't know about, and we really have to listen and hear all parts of the story and understand the privilege in which the perspective that comes to us is. So the only other thing I'll say, and I appreciate everybody in this chamber very, very much, but I have to say that we didn't do nothing tonight. We did our jobs. Our jobs is to make sure that the work gets done and that gets done in the committees. Thank you.
Alderwoman Kelly, I couldn't agree with you more. We did do something tonight. And what we did is important. This is a difficult topic. We don't all have the answers. If we did, we wouldn't be here. And I appreciate the Latanyas of our city, because she's out there every day, working this. And not just her, but she's the one I see right now and appreciate. So thank you for what you do. I'm looking forward to the meeting on Tuesday night, and I hope we all have the opportunity to be there. I'd hate to have to come back in 2 weeks and rehash everything we did tonight when we could actually get a lot of the questions answered in the committee. Thinking we might need the auditorium for our next meeting.
I'm okay with that.
It's difficult. I think we did a good job tonight. Whether I agreed or disagreed with any of you is irrelevant. I think we did what we needed to do to get to where we're going. So I would also like to send my condolences to Ray Garino's family. I didn't know the gentleman, Brad, but my condolences to his family as well. I've known Ray Garino, I don't know, a long time. I mean, he's been in Ward 7, and I was a Ward 7 alderman for 8 terms, so, no, 8 years, not 8 terms, 8 years. But his wife, Tina, his daughter, Amalia, and his son, Chris, were wonderful. They're wonderful people, and I'm really sorry that they lost Ray. Anyway, all right, committee assignments. Committee announcements, sorry, it's late. Alderman Moran.
Thank you. You just heard that PDC is canceled on Tuesday next week. But with that said, you notice that there's a lot of legislation that I sponsored that will be coming through PDC for a public hearing. Our next meeting will be on November 18th at 7 p.m. Just a word to the aldermen here and the public. All that legislation, except for one piece on ADUs, which Alderman Lopez got to it before I did.
Tiny homes.
It's just updating city ordinance with state laws that were passed this last term in regards to zoning and such. But we can talk about it more next month.
Anyone else? Committee announcements? Oh, Alderman Lopez.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check my date. So October 20th at 7 p.m. is the Human Affairs Committee. I was 100% serious if Mayor Donchis wants to have city staff members come and talk about the different approaches they have. They are more than welcome. They've presented multiple times.
When is that?
On October 20th.
Monday. Anyone else? No?
I just missed my
Alderman
chance to say
O'Brien.
6.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion that the Board of Aldermen meeting for October 14th, 2025, so be adjourned. By roll call.
The motion is to adjourn. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
No.
You can stay here.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Geddy.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
13 yeas, 1 nay.
We are adjourned at 11:03 PM. Thank you, everyone.